Yeah, I think a lot about how to troll people better.
The appropriate way to troll people, as it were.
Trolling is an art,
That's
and
true. That's true.
I'm gonna give everybody a better class of troll, is what I'm trying to say.
You know what? I sympathize with that endeavor, quite frankly. Um, you know, it's got to be more clever than apparently.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was definitely
Too
a
hard out of the gate.
misstep.
All
All
right.
right, so we're what are we talking about?
We are so, right. I guess it's time. I guess it's time to actually stay on topic, I guess.
Okay,
Um,
so we're talking.
No, it's
Okay,
not
so
my
wait.
show.
I do want
yeah.
to make that plug really quickly though. You guys should check out The Old Man. It's good. Between
Sure.
that and Better Call Saul are the two best things airing right now.
I I
I
will
I
take your
can't
word for
confirm
it.
or deny these things. I
No,
haven't seen either of
I'm
those
making the plug.
shows.
Watch it yourselves. You guys would love it. Well,
I
I don't know.
know
Like I said, it could go either way, but it's been good so far.
we plan on hate watching Kenobi. I know. So basically, here's the short of it. So the intention, like initially, I don't know. Do you want me to use like your Discord name or not? Like, do you care? Or...
Oh, I mean, you can also call me, but it might get confusing.
Yeah, I'll just get
Well,
confusing.
I'm just thinking in terms of anonymity or whatever.
Oh,
Oh yeah, who's that? I don't
yes.
know who that is.
You call me you can call me Ides of March. I don't really care, or Ides, or
Or March.
fuckface. You know,
Fuck.
just whatever.
I'll call you L.
Oh yeah,
All right. So basically, um, I don't know. Fuck it. There's two. You can figure out which one it is. It could even be me. We'll never know.
Just call me Rockstein. It's just easier.
All right. So basically, and I were planning on hate watching. I saw that. That's funny. Um,
yeah.
uh, Elle and I. Oh no! I totally ruined it.
That's
Uh,
fine.
we we were supposed to hate watch The Boys season 3 after the disaster that was The Boys season 2, um, and then we got 3 episodes in, roughly. Would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Um, it was about episode 3 where you got to the consensus, I would say, that it actually wasn't the worst thing known to mankind. And then there was some good and some bad, and then the last episode happened, and it became mostly bad.
That's the So yeah, in broad strokes, that's pretty much exactly how I felt the whole way through. And then it was better than I expected. And then the season finale happened, and it retroactively kind of ruined what was a pretty decent season.
Um,
Damn, we're not gonna have a lot of arguments here, I guess.
no, all and I were arguing a bit. I think yesterday, because he has some claims about Homelander being a
Well,
and
yeah, you were getting
Butcher.
like really like I felt like you were getting really nitpicky about some stuff about
Well,
like Homelander's characterization that I thought made perfect sense.
well, I guess we can. How do we want to structure this exactly? Because we could talk about that discussion, um, or we could maybe do this in a more chronological. I guess let's just. Do you want to go with characters first? I think let's just do characters first.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't matter too much to me. Most of my notes were character based because I didn't want to do a full rewatch of the series, but
Yeah, that's like 10
yeah,
hours.
you know.
I'm trying to find the title card for episode 1 to give us a nice visual, but I can't be bothered apparently right now. All right.
I will say Jensen. We agreed on this too. Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy was like one of the highlights of the season.
Yes, he's probably let's see, maybe my second favorite character of the season.
Yeah, I think that's probably the same for me. Um,
Um,
he was good pretty much the whole way through.
yeah, and then
I don't remember any times where he showed up and it was just like, oh, they've decided to go in this direction with him. That makes no sense, right? So that puts him head and shoulders above everybody else, basically.
yeah, I think with this show, it's a case of like you either die early or you live long enough to see yourself become a terrible character. Um, and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
mean
or you just don't say anything through the entire series, and you can make it 3 full seasons.
that's true.
Oh God. Okay, so that annoyed me.
And then and then
Okay.
and then you just get like then you get stabbed in the hand,
Oh
or
man.
sorry, you get stabbed through the chest by hand because
Yeah.
of something ultimately really petty.
You
So
well, I mean, they wanted to show you that Homelander is a mean guy
Honestly.
and also a little bit crazy. I don't know if you guys had picked that up until that very scene, but
no, I was
actually,
up until that point I wasn't quite sure what they were doing, but after that moment I was like, oh, Homelander's definitely has some mental issues for sure. No,
well,
I
yeah.
that bugged the shit out of me. They spend like what 2 or 3 episodes actually building up Black Noir as a sympathetic character with like a backstory and everything, and it's like set up. It's like okay, so okay, narratively it should have been Black Noir or who like took out Soldier Boy, right? And I thought that it would have made the most sense for Black Noir to eventually sacrifice himself to take him out. Um, and so the fact that it was Maeve made no sense. And I guess they were going for this oh look, like that would be the obvious thing, but we're breaking the tropes, just like Game of Thrones did. Yeah, and it's like okay, but it actually just wound up being stupid. Like it would have just been better if you just followed it through, in my opinion. Like actually have
Yeah.
Black Noir sacrifice himself. Just because it's cliche doesn't mean it's bad. Like
I like the best part of the final episode to me was when Maeve betrayed everybody. It was like, oh, hey, this is actually the character, right? Like this is who she is, and this all makes sense. And then they're like, haha, big hero moment at the end, and it's like, why, why, why do we like? Why is it her? Like, if you had her kill Homelander at some point, it's like, all right, cool, I can get on board with that.
that would
Somebody's
make
got
sense.
to do it eventually, right? But it's like should, okay, this guy needs to be taken out of the building because he's gonna blow everybody up and everyone's gonna die. And it's like, why is it her? She's clearly very single-mindedly like Homelander has to die. There's no reason for that character to be okay. He's gonna explode and take everyone out. It's worth it if Homelander dies. Like that, probably that's her character. But then we just get this like complete change of heart in the moment. She's like, I got to be strong for this girl that I don't really respect. Like, oh man, it's so dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, like
I think when that scene happened, even when that fight scene happened, like when Maeve just randomly decided to attack Homelander, even though Homelander was attacking the person that she also wanted dead as
yeah, I was
well.
so frustrated on that. That was like I was straight up just like I actually completely empathize with Homelander in that moment. Like just like with his frustration. It's like, Maeve, get the fuck out of the way. Homelander's actually helping you kill Soldier Boy. Why the fuck are you doing that?
Well, no, because that's her motivation. Because that's what she wants out of this whole thing is for Homelander to die, and she's just so tired of not having this fight of just like being on the run or trying to live day to day to figure out a new plan for this. It finally came to this climax, and she seemingly doesn't care whether she survives it or not. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I better save everyone, and it's like. Oh man, for real? You're gonna like that entire like all that character development is gonna happen in that exact instant and apropos of nothing?
Yeah. I just
Yeah,
and I'm just thinking about it from I can understand from like a character perspective why she would um I mean not the second part where she decides to save everyone, but when she decides to just like randomly attack Homelander, it's like I can understand the character motivation behind that, but she picked like the worst time to do that, and also based on the power set alone, like she literally stands no chance. It's almost like like she'd be committing suicide by doing that effectively. Like if Homelander actually went like full force against Maeve.
yeah. Well, I mean, yes. The one thing I'll say to like devil's advocate is that I kind of did get the sense that Homelander was like holding back because he
Oh,
just didn't give a
100%.
shit. Yeah, so like I could buy that, but like yeah, if he wasn't holding back, like he just would have fucked her shit up. The only like they've this the power levels seem to fluctuate on this show. Like I thought it was
Oh my
established that the
God.
only person who could even remotely stand up to Homelander was Soldier Boy, and that nobody else was nearly as strong as either one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean that's a big problem in season two is they forget about like half the powers that Homelander has, and that's actually one of the positives I'll give this season is that they remember that he has like super hearing for example.
Several
Yeah.
times actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
Even in that last episode, actually, the very first scene when he picks up Ryan, and I'm blanking on the chick's name that's in that scene as well, but he's like,
Um,
I can hear
Mallory,
you. Yeah,
Grace Mallory.
he's like, I can hear you like messing with the phone. Like, just stop. I can hear it. Just
This was earlier, but one of my favorite moments that I did like about that and how they remembered that was and so part of the reason I did decide to watch it after all was because Giancarlo Esposito. I was like on my Giancarlo Esposito because the Better Call Saul took its like 6 week break pretty much right when The Boys was airing. So I was like,
mhm.
okay, cool. I'll get my Giancarlo Esposito fix by watching this. I thought he was great as Stan Edgar, and with the Homelander hearing thing, I love the scene where after Homelander's basically like forced him out of Vought and stuff, and he goes in and he's talking about he's like, "Wow, 60/40. He's like, your whole life's falling apart, and you're just acting like you're reading a fucking John Grisham novel." Like, I thought that was excellent of like showing like yeah like this is like Homelander can hear people's heartbeats, and also showing like Stan Edgar like doesn't isn't afraid of Homelander whatsoever. Like his heart rate doesn't even change, even
Yeah.
though he knows it could be laser.
Mhm.
Their scenes with each other. I mean, what's his jeez,
Giancarlo Esposito.
Anthony Starr is
Oh
like
yeah,
he's always good, right? Like he does a good job of the character in all of the scenes. It's just
Yeah.
sometimes the scenes are not very well written.
yeah.
That's the rub right there, isn't it? Um, I think I think the best scene was the ripoff from Spider-Man 1 scene with him, with the
Oh yeah, the mirror the
yeah,
mirror thing where he's going crazy and he's
yeah.
talking to like an alternate version of himself.
I
It,
thought
it
that
was
that was an
well,
excellent
here's
depiction of
it was
narcissistic personality disorder right there.
well, it's a good way to like establish kind of his motivations and stuff like that without having him literally say it to another character, which also
Yeah.
happens in season 3. Um,
Yeah. That
so
was, I mean, great scene. The funniest thing about that scene was definitely the fact that I had just described that scene before it aired. I
oh
was
my
like,
God.
so here are the things, like this is why I don't like what they're doing with Homelander, because here are the things that Homelander cares about and here are the things that he doesn't care about, and here's, generally what he's described himself, or like,
How he acts and
portrayed
stuff. Yeah,
himself
yeah.
as willing to do, right?
Mhm.
And they they just shit on that whenever they want because they can get the right kind of scene, and it's annoying. And then the next episode that aired, he said literally what he cares about, like
It was
to another character.
insane.
It's like, this is my motivation as a character, and it's like, Jesus, it's called subtext. Like, have you heard of it?
Yeah,
It was uncanny. It was basically word for word what you had told me like the week before. I was like, holy shit. That's so funny.
so this is a problem that I've had with the boys the whole way through is that yeah, they're not great at the subtext, and they basically have to bet like whether it's character motivations or their political message, which is probably even worse. There's no subtlety to it whatsoever. They just hit you in the
They're
face with a sledgehammer with it.
they're
Like
not very subtle with the politics. I will give them this season, they've done a better job being even-handed. Like, it's not
Uh,
I mean, I'm not saying they are even-handed. I'm
no,
saying
no,
they're
no.
closer to it than they
Sure,
were pre
sure.
in season 2.
I would
Um
probably it's definitely better than season 2. I still think season 1 is probably the best in terms of how
for
even-handed it
sure.
is. Especially
yeah,
with
yeah, I'd agree with that.
especially with that scene when Homelander kills the protester and they fucking
Oh,
cheer him
Okay,
on.
so
don't
that
get me started on
that
that.
scene. So I'll just say really quick that scene in a vacuum, like if it wasn't referencing, it's like Homelander's Trump, like that scene in a vacuum. I actually thought that was like decent. It's like,
Oh, no,
okay, now
I
he's
hate
unhinged and
Um,
people are gonna love him anyway, so he can do whatever he wants. But the fact that it was like this like ham-fisted like political thing about like, oh, he's Trump, ha ha ha. Like I'm like, come the fuck on.
so
Here's my problem. Here's my problem. They have already established there is a group of people, because like they have all these people that are constantly like at each other's throats and stuff outside of Vought Tower all the time, right? And they've already established there are a group of people that are Nazis, right? They're like explicitly Nazis. And That's not this group of people. It's a different group of people. So presumably all of the people that are like right wing and love violence have already been siphoned off to this group of Nazis that is like a functioning party, and it's not those people. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we love violence too." And it's like it's like what is the distinct, I mean, obviously that's what they're going for, but that's so stupid.
Yeah, and then also in that scene as well, it implies that they're also going to be grooming Ryan into this, like it's okay to kill your political enemies type mentality,
Right.
um, which at best screams like major projection. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I honestly I had no problem with that as a whole. Like it's not the scene itself was bad for other reasons, but the
Sure.
fact that it's like, oh, Ryan's here being raised by his dad and he will turn out to be a monster because he's being raised by his dad. Like that's cool. It was so like they clearly had no idea what they wanted to do with that character because they had him explicitly choose not to be with Homelander at the end of the last season.
Mhm.
Um, when he had that opportunity, and then they only had like a couple scenes with him in season 3, and in those scenes they managed to have him do a complete 180 on it without showing like very much relevant stuff. Like Butcher just basically decides arbitrarily at some point, he's like, I'm gonna spurn this child that's really important and also that I don't want to hurt. Like it's really ham-fisted and garbage.
Yeah, like there was that first scene between Ryan and Butcher I actually thought was like I thought it was pretty good in insofar as um, Butcher turning into like a father figure and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
him having to, you know, not
What
just him having to like rein in his um, typical behavior, I suppose. Um,
his
and then
rage?
yeah, like he has to actually like compose himself when he can't be like sarcastic
So
and swearing and stuff like that. He actually has to be like a role model, right? And then it basically just gets dropped by like the second or third scene that Ryan and Butcher share, and then um
what
yeah, it almost comes across. Hold on, it almost comes across like the writers forcing their like the decision that Ryan made at the end of season 2. It's like the writers went, "Oh no, we don't want that to happen. Let's quickly come up with some ham-fisted way as to how he would change his mind." Okay, Butcher becomes slightly distant and blood argument with have an argument of like we're bonded by blood with Homelander. It's like okay, good, done. Um, like it feels rushed is kind of what I'm getting at.
so I can't remember what was Butcher's motivation for pushing Ryan away.
He was just okay. So basically, the ostensible motivation was that he was frustrated. And Ryan killed his wife, right, or his
Hmm.
ex-wife.
Oh, right, right,
And
right. Yeah, yeah.
the if you wanted to read further into it, it's possible that he was doing it because he thought that visiting Ryan repeatedly was going to get him found out or something like that, right? So he was
That was
doing.
the impression I got was that he kept,
Mhm.
or at least
Okay, right, yeah.
the he
Yeah,
kept distant to protect Ryan,
right.
but that also, I mean, not that Butcher would know this, but like that ultimately proved like useless because AOC knew where he was. So
Listen, she's very well connected. All right.
I
Can we
mean,
just can we just talk about the fact that they just like basically like put AOC into the show? I,
Yeah, I mean, you
no,
know
it's
what?
no, no.
That's
I call her AOC
I
because she
no,
looks like
yeah,
AOC,
because
not
she
because she
kind of
acts
looks
like
like her.
AOC.
well,
Yeah,
no, she's. I thought that when she first showed up in season 2, I think that she's clearly supposed to be like AOC.
No, no, they wouldn't give
I
her an
mean,
evil streak if they were trying to make her
they may,
AOC.
that's the thing though. It's like that character is like very much like a democratic congresswoman kind of character, except that she's a villain. And then, like in terms of the way that Hollywood tends to handle things right now,
Mhm.
and also Stormfront was presented that way at the beginning of season 2 before her big villain reveal as well. So it's not something the show's incapable of doing.
Right, I think the difference is, I think, well, I don't know, because AOC, what even is her actual name? Doesn't really matter. but
The character?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember her name either. We've just been referring to her as AOC.
Yeah, because like AOC, oh fuck, I actually completely forgot my train of thought, but um,
Nice.
especially when we're recording, right? It's just such a
Yeah,
fun.
everyone loves dead air, right?
I know, blah
We
blah
need more dead
blah.
air in here.
Yeah, I feel like they have her poised to be the villain of season 4, which I find int
Victoria Newman.
Yeah,
okay.
Or,
Victoria Newman
yeah,
is a character's name.
yeah.
Sorry, I was making a
Victoria
coffee. I was
That
thinking the
works.
dead air thing when you said it, but I couldn't respond.
Hey,
That's all right. I got your back, man. Well,
yeah.
I'm trying not to. I was acutely aware of how much I was talking, and I was like, I probably shouldn't talk as much as I am.
Oh, don't worry. If you have things to say, say them. There is
Uh,
no limits.
I
At the end
have
of the day,
many things to say.
Yeah.
it would probably be better if we were yelling over top of each other than if there was dead air. At least that's entertaining, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, we haven't talked about
I
Interstellar yet for the 5th time, so
I
Well,
just meant, yeah, if I, as a guest of this program, I didn't want to be like, all right, you guys listen to me here. Like,
hey,
it's like,
there are the only rules are the arbitrary rules that I set up the moment I set them up. So,
all right, perfect.
um,
so you're Homelander.
oh, I
Exactly.
was gonna make an
Getting it.
inside joke, but I won't say because I think only one person would get it. But
I already got it. Yeah. All right. So,
Would you
sorry,
mind
what were
just
we talking about?
explaining the joke to me?
I can explain it to you later. I can explain it to you
Alright, fuck it.
later.
So we were talking about how uh, Homelander's kid just
Oh, yeah.
is brought around to being evil. But actually, before that, because the Homelander's kid thing is like,
It's
honestly, they just, if they wanted to make that happen, they just needed more screen time for him.
yeah.
And it was such a silly thing for them to set up in the other direction at the end of season 2 if they wanted to make that happen, right? So it's,
Well, it feels
but
like they can't make up their minds sometimes because same thing happened with the blackmail at the end of season 2. Like, let's be real,
mm,
like it wasn't actually a blackmail because it
there's
would
blackmail on the show.
because we're talking about the video of Maeve and Homelander in the airplane that
Oh, right.
Maeve used
Oh
as
yeah,
leverage against
yeah,
Homelander
that was
that
kind of a big deal.
actually wasn't leverage, but then the show
Mhm.
forgot it was leverage. But at the beginning of season 3, it remembered that it wasn't leverage, and then Homelander's just like, yeah, release it. Like, you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna fuck shit up. So
Yeah, he's like, I will kill everyone, and it's like, all right,
yeah, it feels like another example like that and the Ryan thing. I feel like examples of the writers just kind of going, oh, lol, JK, never mind. Like this isn't uh the precedent that we're setting.
I'll
yeah. Well, I mean, he very inconsistently cares about his image in this season, and that bothers me.
Oh yeah, can we talk about the worst example of that with the
well,
the
I
lady
was just gonna
committing
say really
suicide?
quick, and this okay, yeah, we can get into that too, because I know we're gonna disagree on this, but I actually didn't mind the whole Ryan thing necessarily. Like that at least made sense to me. So it's like, okay, Butcher tries to push him away for his own protection, but then it doesn't matter because Cortez knows where he is anyway. And she gives that information to Homelander. But then when the thing is like Homelander actually shows him warmth and accepts him for who he is anyway. In that and it was probably
Hmm.
rushed, but I did buy that like, okay, like now Ryan at the like now he hates Butcher, so like all he wants is like a father figure, kind of like Homelander, right? So now since Homelander showed him warmth, now he's like in that last shot of the season that didn't seem like it was kind of earned. I didn't have too much of
So,
a problem with it.
It's
so I guess what I would say to that is just that they made, like, they all throughout the whole season they wanted undertones of Butcher versus Homelander so they could do their stupid V24 plot, and
oh yeah, we gotta talk about
and
that.
the fight for the affections of Homelander's kid is actually a lot more interesting as a battleground because Homelander doesn't automatically win. So if they had spent more time on it, and obviously they would have had to be competent in writing ways for that to happen because it's not obvious how it would, but it could be done. and it would have been a much better way for them to clash with each other than how it actually went down.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
um,
agree with that.
everything everything that you described like makes sense in paper or like in concept. It just needed to be fleshed out a bit more. Um, I would argue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even the way that like it ended up is okay. It's just the problem that I had with it originally is just that why would they go through the trouble of pushing it in the opposite direction at the end of season 2 and then decide right at the beginning of season 3 to go like elsewhere with it, which is what they did with the Deep at the end of season 2 as well. They were like,
Ugh,
oh yeah, you're not getting back into the 7. It's like, just kidding, like, and it's like, why?
I
Why
think
did you do this?
well, I think the Deep is the best example of the writers not knowing what to do with the character.
Oh my god, yeah.
Um, wow, because and even in season 3, it's like, what does he do? He kills one priest, and like that's it.
Well, I mean, he killed a vice presidential like potential nominee, right? So
Um,
He
oh, but
killed
no,
that guy
but that was
so
at the end of
Alexandria
yeah, that was
Cortez could become the VP. Yeah.
yes,
oh yeah, that's the guy I'm referring to.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Isn't he the priest
Yeah,
guy?
so right, right, right.
No, he was
Okay,
just a
but
politician. I thought, wasn't he?
yeah, he's a politician.
I thought he was a priest guy.
I don't think so. I mean, he's probably like an evangelist or something because they always have the right wing politicians look like that in these
Right.
sorts of shows. But
Right. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
maybe I'm mixing two characters up in my brain or something.
I mean, there was like the head of the church or whatever that got killed at the end of season 2,
Right,
um,
by AOC.
by AOC, yeah, um, which was one of the few like satisfying endings to a subplot in season 2. Um, but yeah, it was, man, they had no idea what they were doing with the Deep this season at all, not even a little bit,
I mean,
because they just so good.
no, I was just gonna say, I almost feel like, does that even matter? I feel like the Deep just exists to be like comic relief. So I
So okay,
almost don't really care
it's
like what
right,
happens
right,
with
but
his
here's the thing.
plot. Like,
It's not that simple. Like because I think we've talked about this before in terms of like comic relief characters, and the argument, the one that you always give me is Butters from South Park, right? And it's like
well, Butter. Okay, well okay, well just like let's not compare like South Park to The Boys. Like
no,
one's excellent and the
no.
other one
This
is
is
The Boys.
I'm not comparing it. I'm not comparing them as a
It's
whole.
also a comedy.
No. I'm just comparing. I'm comparing like the function of like Butters to like the function of like the Deep. Like, because you said the Deep's like a comic relief character and that like and stuff like that. It's like, well, you've told me before that the that Butters is just like a kick him down the can character, whatever the term is.
He's a Kick the Dog character.
Yeah, and it's like
So like Meg from Family Guy, for example, and there's
right.
probably a bunch of other examples. Yeah, he's like a Kick the Dog character,
Sure.
like
Um,
literarily.
and so like the difference is between like say like a character like Butters and a character like the Deep is that I still think the writers like Butters because they still
Oh,
treat
they don't
him
just
like
like him. They've Matt and Trey have gone on record saying Butters is their favorite character, even above Cartman.
right. Exactly. So you have that versus with the Deep where I feel like the writers actively hate the Deep.
Yeah, they
Yes, okay, yeah,
definitely
agree.
do. Well, I mean, also he's a rapist, right? So it's like it's not
Oh,
hard to
sure.
hate him.
Yeah,
No,
like it's yeah,
I
easy to hit it.
understand that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But
It
I think to like excuse the Deep plot line as, oh, it's just comic relief, like
Well,
a la Butters from like South Park, I don't think is a fair like
All right, I have a theory for where they could go with this and where I would have liked them to go with this
sure.
earlier. So the Deep and A Train are pretty interchangeable, I think, at the beginning of this season.
Mm,
Um, I mean, it would have been, I guess, better if they had already established that they were gonna try and get the Deep back into the 7, but then they were just like, okay, beginning of episode 1, hey, we're going to put you back in the 7. So you've got two characters in the 7 that in terms of like what they're capable of, it's useless. They don't provide anything, and they're
true.
just trying to hold on to their political power and their image.
Hmm.
And they do this by just getting absolutely bullied by Homelander like every day.
Mhm.
And so we just basically get to see Homelander like intimidate them and make fun of them and make them do stuff they don't want to do constantly. And they both suck, so it's great to watch that happen to them. But A Train's arc through this season is one where he's trying to learn how to not be shitty, right? Like, he's not good at it because he has been shitty for a really long time, but he
Yeah.
is actively making decisions where he's like, maybe if I did things like this, I would be less bad. And the things that he tries are not working, right? But he's trying.
Yeah, it
And
culminates in that one scene with Huey
He-
in episode
yeah,
6, I think.
Okay, so
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But hold on. The Deep instead just sits there and does nothing all season and fucks an octopus.
It's
And
also true.
somehow
oh dude,
somehow that destroys his marriage, and it's just like it's such a dumb scene, and so they really didn't need to go back to it. It's like I like the idea of like, oh, in the Hero Gasm episode he's found in a back room fucking an octopus or whatever. It's like, okay, that's kind of funny, and also it's referential to the like DC stuff from this year. But they have him do a political assassination right at the end of the season. If they had moved that to earlier on in the season, then we could see the Deep as his reaction to, oh, I have this useless existence where all I do is get bullied, is he becomes like actively evil. And that would have been a much more interesting juxtaposition between the two characters who are very interchangeable at that point, I think.
I did want to say really quick, the scene where Homelander and his wife force him to eat Timothy the octopus actually genuinely really fucking upset me. And I know it was supposed to be played for laughs or whatever, but that scene really made me really fucking upset. I don't like animal cruelty
Right.
stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like,
That's
because
just a total
it was meant,
aside. I just
it was meant to be upsetting, right? So
Yeah.
it's
I
like,
couldn't tell because like when I was looking online, everybody's like, "Oh, that was the funniest shit in the world." I'm like, that wasn't funny at all, man. That just was deeply upsetting to me.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good scene if it is used to demonstrate like the sort of extreme cruelty that the Deep goes through for some like actual payoff at some point, but it just doesn't, right? It's just kind of irrelevant overall.
Right.
Which
Well,
sucks because I didn't mind the scene outside of that. Like, it was
sure.
upsetting and it was supposed to be,
Oh,
seemingly.
yeah. I think as a like the only reason how do I describe this? Like it's not about the creature itself, it's about like the Deep's reaction to the creature getting hurt, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um
why it was like, because like the Deep can hear his thoughts and stuff, and he's talking about how he's scared and like he's begging for his life. I was like, oh my god, like you're really gonna make me watch this? Like, I'm like sweating thinking about it. It was horrible. It was just, I don't know. And I guess
There-
it was supposed to set up
it was one
like
of the better scenes.
There's
Homelander's
a lot
cruelty.
of violence to people in this show.
Animals just get me though. I'm
Well,
just one of those
Uh,
people where it's like,
okay, to be fair, there is no scene where another human is forced to eat another human.
Maybe there should have been.
Maybe there should have been, considering
No,
that the
I mean, definitely not. What?
especially considering the first fucking scene in this season is a man getting his dick exploded because a man
True.
sneezed into another man's dick. I have so many problems with that fucking setup in that scene because it's like if you knew
Yeah.
that when you sneeze that you just like
Yeah.
grew back to normal size,
Oh, I
you would
sometimes randomly lose control of my powers. Let me just go inside your urethra. It's like, come on, man.
yeah,
like you would never take that chance, especially with someone that you like, quote unquote love or whatever.
I was
Um,
gonna say, if it was just a random dude he was fucking, and it was like, and then that happened, and he was like, "Oh no, not again." It's like, all right, well, maybe this is the kind of guy who just is willing to take that chance sometimes and get people to clean it up when it
like
goes poorly for him.
yeah,
But
if it was like a hooker
um,
or something.
yeah, but he was devastated, and it's like, dude, like you have to know at this point in your life that this happens sometimes to you. You
Yeah.
shouldn't like put yourself in that position.
Well, it's like because he held in the sneeze like once or twice, and I'm like, okay, if you know that you're about to sneeze, you just get the fuck out of there. Also, okay, so I haven't passed a kidney stone like, through my dick, but I have had similar things. I have had two kidney stones, but they were dealt with in different ways. Um, anyway, I
Did they
say this
play?
only to establish that under no circumstances is a man and an object that small going to be pleasurable when that enters your urethra. Like, no, that would just be pain. That's just pure pain. Um, like
Yeah.
Roxanne, you were talking about how you were like cringing with the octopus scene,
I
and with you
wasn't
touching
cringing,
the
dude. It
octopus.
actually made me upset seeing
Right,
it.
right, right, right. So like
Well,
I
I
like
was like
was
sad
like,
and disturbed.
I
it
I
was the second hardest I cringed.
ha
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, like basically I felt a similar way in that scene. It's like the writers don't understand how painful it is to have like a solid object that's like, even if it's just like 2-3 millimeters in diameter, like that shit hurts when it's there. Like
It's hurting just thinking about it.
that doesn't feel good. So I don't understand why that would be considered like a pleasurable experience in any shape, way, or form. So that's the other issue
Uh,
I take with that scene as
I,
well.
I mean, I don't know. He could have been smaller than that, or like he can grow or shrink to whatever
Well, based on
size,
the
right? That's
size
not
that we see
whatever.
him at, he
Right.
is the size of a kidney stone. And
Uh, is he?
yes,
I don't know if that's true because like he's
I will
so
I
he
will pull
can.
up the scene.
Yeah, okay. I mean, pull up the scene. That's fine. I'm just saying, like
Do we really want to pull up the scene though? That scene.
he doesn't. Oh, I've seen that scene like 3 times now. It's not gonna bother
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Well,
Um,
if this is like gonna be like, well, I don't know who's gonna hear this. I guess we're still testing
yeah,
the podcast, but
yeah. Yeah, but he's not like stuck or anything. Like,
No, but that's not the pain. The pain is when it moves.
okay.
Because that's when it like rubs against,
I'm
the inside of you, right?
sure.
ugh,
Just trying to
this is
see how long we can keep this
this is
going.
such a horrifying topic of
Oh, here we
conversation.
go.
Here we
Okay.
go.
Oh, fuck.
Big old penis.
I'm gonna have to censor this if I upload this to YouTube. I don't
That's
know how
just
I'm gonna
that's
Oh
the thing. That's
yeah.
like a YouTube strike waiting to happen if you upload that.
Oh yeah. If you're
So here
planning to
we
put this
go.
on YouTube.
Look at how
Oh my
Um,
god.
look.
oh, here we
So
go.
see, we need scale here. Come on.
Okay. Here he goes. Up.
So like that's bigger than a kidney stone. I'm sorry.
Ugh. I
Okay.
can't believe.
All
Ugh.
right.
I
Fantastic.
can't believe they filmed this.
You did it.
A kidney stone would be like,
Okay. You know
yeah,
what? Here's the thing, though. It's like
that's a
if this guy's like, oh, that's a little bit too big, it's painful. He just gets smaller. It's whatever. Like, I, I don't have a problem with how they did that. The fact that he sneezes and blows up is stupid, but the fact that he does this and this guy gets his
well,
rocks off
like
on it or whatever, it's like okay, whatever.
I just I don't know. I take issue. I take issue with oh yeah, then there you go.
Yeah.
He's about to sneeze, then he holds it in and he's still like, "Nah, I can still go
Yeah, and he's
deeper."
like, ah, I can go further
And then
than this.
yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Then
hey.
I will say that's
It
some of the
seems
most
like
fucked up shit I've ever seen in a TV or movie ever.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but it feels like what's the phrase I'm looking for? Where they just went for the payoff without actually properly setting it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make
Um,
any sense.
yeah, so that was not a great way to start season 3, even though I
But-
still say that as a whole season 3 is like fine. It's like okay, it's
Yeah.
like a 5.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, like they just needed to recontextualize their relationship, right? Where he's just
Yes.
like a random guy that he picked up and then it's like, oh, this is not a thing that commonly occurs to him.
Mm-hmm.
But if it does happen and he kills this guy, whatever. He likes going in dicks. It's too important to him. It's like, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, like you said, if it was a hooker or something that he didn't have an emotional connection with, it's like okay, fine.
Yeah.
But like you said, they established that he cares for
Yeah,
her
he's
based
like
on his
in love with
reaction
that guy
afterwards. Yeah.
basically, right? Yeah.
It's like I want you inside me. Although I mean, to be as like charitable as I can, the subversion of like when you hear the phrase like "I want you inside me," you do consider it to be like butt sex, but then he goes another way.
Of
It's like
course.
okay, that's kind of like
Yeah.
I can see why, like I can see what you're trying to do. Um, but yeah, like you said, it's just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense based on how those two characters are each other. Not that it's like breaks the season. It's just
No,
one of those things.
absolutely
Okay,
not.
so
And you know, we got through like we watched through that episode, and I was like, that was this episode was fine, right? Like
Oh
there
yeah,
were
totally,
parts of it I
totally.
didn't like, but it was
so I should
okay.
Where
ask, what do both of you guys rate the season as a whole as like out of 10?
I'm sitting at a 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 5.5.
Okay, I think we're all yeah. I was gonna say like I was gonna say 6, but I'm like generous with how I
Sure.
say it, so it's probably 5.5. Yeah. I
Where
would
Yeah.
have said more, but to bring it back, I feel like the finale lessened the entire season.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I was sitting like closer to like 6.5 at the end of episode 7 because I thought episode 7 was the best one of the season. So
okay.
I was like, oh yeah, you know, if we get a satisfying finale out of this will probably save the season for me and be like, eh, you know, average-ish. Like if the first season's like an 8 or whatever. Um, but yeah, this is the last episode was not good.
Yeah, so the as far as the last like it it has a very convenient wrap up. I don't know why they keep
Mhm.
doing. They did this at the end of season 2 as well, where it's like everything's back to like normal. And they did something similar with the ending of season 3 to where
Mm.
it's not like the end. It's not like it's a season
Well,
series ender or anything
some
like that.
things are very much not back to normal.
Oh, of
So
course, of
it's, you
course.
know,
Um,
I because I was thinking about this the other day. It had that feeling to me where it was because Soldier Boy sort of like shows up in the middle of the season and then he just goes back into a tube. It's like, oh,
right.
okay, well, nothing happened this season. And then I thought about it and it's like, oh, actually, a lot of things happened this season.
Well, that's
Like, yeah.
I did want to talk a bit about the tube thing because the way they the way they get rid of him in that last episode doesn't really make sense.
Oh, I
Um,
thought all this stuff was great. All the Black Noir
I
stuff
love
with the
this.
happy tree friend.
This was my favorite. This was my favorite stuff in the whole entire season.
Same.
Yeah,
oh
the
yeah, the stuff at the
characterization of Blackmore as like he's like literally brain damaged and he views the entire world in terms of cartoons and every like any like evil or anything like that in terms of his morality is equal. Like he has no way of differentiating between scale. It's like that's all super cool and it frustrated me so much when he just dies. Like he's like
Yeah, no, exactly.
Homelander's like hey, did you tell me the truth all the time? And he's just all right, well you're dead.
it's
It's
not
like,
even
okay.
that.
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah.
it's like did you know about this and didn't tell me? And it goes yes. It's like okay,
Yeah.
die. It's like
Yeah.
it's even worse than
Yeah.
yeah. Here's the scene.
And and I wouldn't have even minded if they killed him off in a cooler way. It's like he wanted Soldier Boy's blood, right? Like there were definitely things they could have done with it because they wanted to kill him off because they want to put someone else in the suit. And that's fine.
Well,
It's just
you'd think that Homelander would try to use Noir to help kill Soldier Boy, and then
yeah.
maybe like say they succeed, and then um, at the end, at the end, Homelander can be like, okay, now you die. It's like I just used you to help kill Soldier Boy.
that would have made more sense. Um,
Yeah.
like
Well,
I
makes
felt
more
like
sense.
everything they were setting. That was one of my biggest issues with the finale. Like Noir should have been the one to tackle Soldier Boy out the window, not Maeve. That didn't make any sense at all.
So yeah, I want to talk about that a bit because
Did they even assess? So I'm probably forgetting. Sorry. Did they even establish that Maeve had any beef with Soldier Boy at all whatsoever?
I
No.
think the way the show is trying to justify it is like Maeve saw that if I don't do this action, then everyone will die. If I do this action, then only I will die. Luckily for her, not only does she survive somehow, but also Soldier Boy's powers knock out Soldier Boy, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
Yeah.
did we actually see, like,
so
I can't remember. Did we see what happens to him, like, after he goes nuclear in other situations?
yeah, he's fine.
Yeah,
Well, I
he's
mean,
just like
obviously it
worn
doesn't
out.
kill him. I mean, like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't
how
kill him. It doesn't knock. I
yeah,
don't think it ever knocked him out or anything. He
No,
just
this is the so I have the scene pulled up here the last time he
yeah,
does it because they try
right,
to put the mask on him and the
right,
mask falls off. Maeve looks at him and then she does the tumble or
yeah.
yeah, grabs him and right there
So, I mean,
and then
yeah,
he
the charitable reading of this would be that he inhaled a whole bunch of that stuff right before he went out the window.
well. Also, I guess the other thing is with Soldier Boy, like being knocked out, is that he's basically indestructible, but he also can't fly. So I would imagine falling from that height just by itself might have knocked the guy unconscious or something, which would have given them enough time to put him on ice.
Yeah.
But
maybe
so
I
like
I
what really
don't
gets me
well,
about this though is that his explosion goes off like they're not even halfway down. So Maeve would have lost her powers right there. So how the fuck does Maeve survive the fall?
well, yeah,
oh,
even if Soldier Boy like gets knocked out, which is like, you can read that interpretation. It's like Maeve still is dead no matter what.
oh yeah,
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 yeah.
I'm with you 100% on that one. There's no way Maeve should have survived this scene. Um, but I'm willing to accept that within the rules it makes sense that he would have been knocked out as a result of this. It's just it wasn't as well done as it could have been.
It's basically, do you think that Soldier Boy consumed enough of the knockout gas? I would go with no, just because he's a fucking superhero,
Well,
and he'd have to basically like keep it on him like the whole
uh,
time until he's knocked out.
well, I mean, okay, so here's the thing, right?
But
So
there's the
he
other.
consumes a whole bunch of the knockout gas and then does something extremely physically demanding and then also falls several stories. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that that would knock him out.
Sure, sure. Like it's um yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Like it's not well told. I'll give you like honestly, if they had just filmed that part a little bit different, where he's like breathing in the knockout gas and he just kind of like collapses over the edge or something like that, it's like, oh, okay, that's there we go, right? So that's not
If they if yeah, they
it's not
needed
like
to
they had no opportunity to convey that if they were going to
yeah,
convey that.
if they showed him getting like knocked out midair or something like that even.
Well, I mean, yeah, they that would have been a hard one just because they wanted to keep it uh sort of um like unknown to the audience but until the end what exactly happened. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's even if you just like if you were watching the scene where he falls out of the building, if he's just kind of like going unconscious at the time, it's like that suddenly makes it a heck of a lot better, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. In either
but
case, Maeve should be dead, but all she has is a
Maeve should
lost
be dead for
eye,
sure.
and
Yeah,
she's going to retire conveniently until AOC finds out where she lives and then gives the address to Homelander, because that's
right,
basically what
yeah, yeah,
happened
of
with
course.
Ryan. Um,
Yeah, she knows
so,
everything.
so
She's very well connected.
Um, this is just a random like ADD moment. Do you guys know that the guy who plays what's his name? The guy who's running for president, is
Jim
on
Beaver.
sorry.
Jim Beaver?
Yeah, that's the actor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He is in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul as well.
Yep.
ah, fun fact of
Yes,
the
I
day.
did. Yeah, he
He
was in
plays
Supernatural for a really long time,
No,
so
no,
he's
that's Soldier Boy.
no, both of them were.
yeah, they were both in that.
Yeah.
And apparently they're talking about bringing in Jeffrey Dean Morgan next season, who was also in Supernatural.
So here's a
Not
question.
surprising.
Here's a question. If you put compound V in gasoline, does that turn the trucks and the cars into super trucks and cars?
I hope
Uh,
not, because some of them are racist.
That's true. We wouldn't want a racist truck driving around, would we?
Night Rider. Here's an idea for a show, Night Rider, but the car is racist.
I mean, that was actually an episode of season 1 of Supernatural.
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's
I've
a
never seen
racist.
Supernatural.
It's not very good.
It's a
It,
racist car. Like, what
yeah,
what
it's a
the fuck?
racist truck. It's a racist truck in the South, and it like runs over black people.
A
Um,
sentient truck that is
that's
racist.
It's
yes, that is
maximum
correct.
overdrive, but racist.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what the fuck
Yes,
is that?
it is possessed
Okay.
by the spirit of a racist white guy.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Supernatural, it wasn't like it didn't have like a very cohesive plot until like season 3 or 4. So
Mm.
it like the first few seasons are all just like villain of the week, and some of them are hilariously dumb.
Is
Didn't that
that
show go for like 15 seasons or something?
Oh, it did.
is
People love extremely attractive guys fighting demons.
is that better or worse than tying up people to balloons to kill them?
It's I mean, can you really compare
Oh,
those two
are you
things?
talking about Gotham?
Yeah, yeah. Gotham episode 3 is so
Season
dumb.
1 of Yo, I love season
Yeah.
1 of Gotham.
Oh,
Gotham is just like this beautiful
I
mess.
I watched until episode 3, and then the villain was a man who tied people to balloons, and I was like, "Yep, that's the end for me."
Oh, I watched Gotham pretty far through. See, I liked season 1 of Gotham. Like it, even though it was stupid, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, I watched like many seasons of Supernatural, and it's dumb, and I would not recommend it to people.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's
I
fair.
I haven't seen either of these shows, and I have no intention of watching either of these shows. I
I
would
can't remember where I quit Supernatural, but like it was pretty far in, and then it went for like another 8 years or something. After that, it
so
was like,
funny.
what? How is this show still going? Yeah, yeah,
That's really
it
funny.
was something else. All right, are we're still talking about the boys, right?
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, yeah,
There's just a
Fine.
couple other things. The
Sure.
Compound V is now a writer's get out of jail free card. Um, at least in my mind. I'm glad they did
Yeah.
introduce some limit near
Y-
the end, where it's like, oh, some of the side effects include death, and that does lead to
Yeah.
a nice character
Include
moment.
Yeah, hold
death.
on. V24, they had this like good opportunity. I wasn't the biggest fan of the introduction of V24
Mhm.
in the first place, because the like divide between the superhero and non-superhero characters is important in the show, and blurring that divide is like something you should do in the last season if you're
So
going to do it
yeah,
at all.
exactly. So that's kind of
Um,
what I mean by it's a
you
writer's
know,
get out of jail free card. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it really isn't, because it kills you, and everyone
No,
in the
they
cast and
did, but let's be
developed
real
characters
though.
to know
Like,
it.
you think VOD is going to stop research and development on Compound 24 or V24?
Yeah, probably. Well, maybe. It depends, because like Homelander's in charge of the company, right? So who knows?
Um,
Um, but yeah, you're right. They like I'm sure they'll have more and more dumb things where they're just like, we found this in the basement and it makes you jump 100 feet into the air.
yeah.
What? And it's like, yeah, that's like so.
Well,
I'm
that's
sure the writers have that in store for us.
mhm.
But I don't think that V24 is automatically as bad as it was.
No, that's
Uh,
true. That's true. That's fair.
the
Um,
the fact that it has death as a side effect after like a couple of uses is fucking silly. It's like they could have
Well,
done way more with different side effects.
well,
I thought the point of it was that okay, yeah, I feel what you're saying. I thought the point of it was that like it's not fully done being tested,
right.
but
That's what I was
but
talking about.
but you were
Like,
just getting
yeah,
made to smuggle it out anyway. Like
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
No, that's what I'm getting at. It's like it's an early form version of Compound 24 or V24. Like
right.
by season 4 or 5, like I would imagine that VOT will have produced a more finalized version that doesn't have those side effects anymore. Um,
I mean, how do we even know it's possible in that universe to do that?
because
Right?
the writers made it so.
Yeah, but have they? Like they
No, but they
definitely
will. That's what
like.
I'm coming at it from like
Yeah,
a
well,
meta
exactly.
perspective. Yeah.
Could happen.
Um,
I,
like
I I don't know for sure that it will. I hope they don't do
I
that, but
agree, but I
yeah,
don't trust them.
yeah. Nor should you.
oh, I
Um,
assumed they were going to do that.
that's what I
That
mean.
they're gonna have
Yeah,
like a stable V24.
Yeah. Um,
yeah, yeah. I hope
I
not.
I also it's also mighty convenient as well, and this is more of a meta complaint, I suppose, that the powers that a Butcher got are an exact power match of Homelander's.
Yeah.
So that
I think more than anything that was boring and they shouldn't have done it.
well, yeah.
Just for that reason. It's like I know exactly why they did it, and I even said it as soon as it showed up when we were watching the episode. It's like, oh, okay, they did this so that they can have the laser eye duel later on in the season between the two of them. Like that's the only reason they did it. And it's like why? Just do something
Well,
else.
I remember I remember seeing trailers for season 3 and they showed Butcher with laser eyes. I'm like, no, please no, no.
Yeah, but
Uh,
it could have been like a dream sequence or something at that point, right?
yeah, I know. That's
We
why I
didn't
was
we
like,
didn't
please no.
know.
That's why I was
Yeah,
please no.
and then it wasn't.
And
Yeah.
then it wasn't that.
And then it wasn't.
Uh, and then
Yeah.
well, it does kind of beg the question of like,
Yeah.
I imagine there's at least 2 more seasons of the show. It's like, well, how do you like, where do you take it from there? If
Don't you know Butcher only has as long to live as the show goes on for?
Oh,
basically,
I was saying this yesterday.
basically.
Didn't I say this yesterday and we were talking briefly? I was like, yeah, Butcher's gonna live for 18 months or however long they decide to keep making seasons of the show. They'll just say
Yeah.
like, oh, your V cancer is in remission.
Yeah.
Your V
Yeah,
ca
for sure.
Here, take this V24 cancer reversal drug. Get
Like literally, that's
And
if they
also
need to,
these
that is what the
boots.
writers will do.
the side
They let
effects
you
include
jump 100 feet.
superpowers. There's
He's
oh
like,
my
"Wow, these boots are great, crikey," or whatever the fuck he says.
Blimey, this
Yeah.
V24 reversal thing, it feels great. It's like, oh, side effects include permanent superpowers.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I've become the very thing I've hated.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, and okay, yeah, that too. Like, man, there's so many things. These are all things that are like, okay, it's not necessarily the fact that V24 exists that causes this to be a problem. It's that it was dealt with so poorly by the writers. And
Oh
it's just
yeah, the way they're able
yeah,
to
the
smuggle
fact
it just in and out like willy-nilly.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I saw a meme where remember the South Park episode? I think it's Imagination Land, where just Stan, Kyle, and Carbon just keep breaking into the FBI, and he's like, "Why is it so easy for children to break in here?" And it's like that's like Vought Lab. It's like, oh, like
Honestly.
Starlight just like strolls in and out, even though she's not on the 7 anymore. Apparently, it's the
Well,
easiest
fuck, like
compound to break into ever.
even season 2, it was a big deal to smuggle shit out. Like, I remember that whole sequence with Starlight trying to, I forget exactly what she's trying to smuggle. Oh no, she's trying to smuggle just Compound V. Um, I'm pretty sure that's season 2 at least. And like, there are multiple scenes dedicated to like the how she was able to accomplish that. Um, as partly as that's done, I suppose. They at least
Yeah.
tried to explain it in a way that makes sense. And it's like in season 3, they just dropped it. And they're like, nah, just trust us. Maeve did it somehow. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like,
She's very crafty.
yeah. It's just like, I don't care. Like,
Should have gotten some from AOC. Should have just been like, we have this blackmail for you. Do you have
literally.
any compound V?
Oh my
Jesus
Like,
God.
yes,
Christ.
I'm very well connected.
Like Butcher or not Butcher or Huey goes up to AOC like, I know you're the shotgun lady. Now give me an in to get the fucking Compound
Yeah.
V24. She's like,
Here, take this blackmail, but I will require blackmail in exchange. Yeah, it's a great show.
yeah. So, Roxanne, in case you weren't aware, when we were watching it, it became like a joke of how long until uh blackmail occurs in the episode. Um, and I think what did we had 3 or
How many
4?
episodes had blackmail in it?
I think 3 or 4, and it was in the
I think
first half of the episode. I think for all of
yeah,
the
I think
occurrences.
I think like I think it ended up being 5 or 6, but I'm not
Oh, is it
sure.
okay?
It might have been less than. I
And
remember it as being that many, but I'd have to watch through it
and it
again.
was an 8 episode season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I
Okay.
said, it became a joke of like when is it not a matter of if it happens, but when.
Yeah. When in the
Oh,
show?
I mean,
Yeah.
season 2 was like full of blackmail, right? There might have been less blackmail in this season.
I think that's fair to say. Like season 3 is definitely better than season 2, that's for sure. Um, season 2 like basically like the universe is in shatters, and I still have I still have questions about the world and how it functions and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean season 2 also committed the cardinal sin of being boring for the first half, like really really boring. And season
yeah,
3 like the first few episodes had cool things happen in them.
Yeah,
yeah.
it
Well,
at
I
least
it
wasn't boring.
just
Like
as
there was a lot of there's a lot of like great moments, but
yeah. I
that they don't all string together into it like a 10 out of 10. Like I agree with you guys, like a 5 at the end of the day. But
Yeah, because I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it, and it's like I remember when the show first started, and it's like the Seven was supposed to be like akin to the Justice League, right? And it was like the best, of the best. These
Mm.
guys are like uber hard to kill, and like they're they're super monitored and stuff like that. Like Vought knows where any of these people are at any given moment, and it's like all these characters are having to account for that. Like specifically the boys having to account for that. Like specifically when they kidnap Translucent and stuff like that and
Yeah.
then in season 3 it's like two members of the Seven are dead like by Homelander himself, and then they just don't even bother to try and cover up how uh the Seven keeps losing members and all this stuff, and it's just like, does the Seven even matter anymore as like
No.
a marketing get like but like I understand like functionally as far as the plot, but I'm talking like from a world perspective, from like a world building perspective, like what does, that would bind like that would
Yeah.
like you know what I'm trying to get at,
Yeah, I mean,
like
I think the idea is that Homelander has basically like split himself from the Seven, in terms of his marketing or whatever, and now there isn't one in terms of how many people there are for it. Like, I don't even know what they did with the boy band guy, but like
he just got
in terms
killed.
of the plot and like yeah, no, I mean
Oh, I see what you're
I
saying.
saw that, but it like sorry, in terms of how he fits into the world, right?
Oh,
Like
he
I'm not
doesn't.
really sure.
Not
Yeah, yeah, right. Like cuz
like
they added him to the Seven and then he's immediately killed
yeah.
and he never does anything. And
I guess it was supposed to be just a red herring, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the
Yeah,
hell
it's not
the point was for that.
I don't get it.
when I say like he serves like he does nothing. I don't mean like obviously he's like there and he does things, but you can edit him
Yeah.
out and nothing changes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
And
that's kind of what
it's
I
Yeah,
mean.
like and I mean to come back to things that were bothering me about Homelander, it's like when like okay, obviously he's not going to be caught having murdered this other member of the Seven, but he's going to have to explain away how members of the Seven keep dying while he's in charge of the organization.
Hmm.
And now, now he's gone and killed Black Noir, and I guess they're going to replace him with another person in the Black Noir suit, but it's like there's a bunch of things. Oh, yeah, like the thing with the girl committing suicide, right? It's like
Yes, I've been wanting to bring that
even
scene up for a while
even
now.
if even if you accept that nobody's going to know that he made her do it, ultimately he still didn't save her. Like that.
okay,
Yeah.
so my thing was like, and I were talking about this yesterday. Sorry, Mr. Nathan and I were talking about this yesterday.
We have to figure out
That,
Um,
this.
that'll get you banned from YouTube.
We'll have to figure out the naming situation here.
Mr.
But
Nathan, yeah, we will. The I didn't mind that scene too much because it's fun. Like the thing is, like I assumed nobody knew Homelander was up there anyway, so like Vought was
all right.
down there trying to film it and be like,
Well,
oh,
no,
he's
no,
gonna
no, no,
save
no.
her. But even when he didn't, it's like, oh, he just wasn't there.
The
Like,
problem is,
Mm,
though, is that the roof that she commits suicide from is not the tallest roof. Like there are buildings taller than her in the area.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like even if no one on the ground saw that interaction, people above them definitely saw that interaction.
yeah, that makes sense. Like,
Um,
Someone on the ground saw the friggin' interaction too. Like it's
where's
clearly an event by the time he gets there. There are
yes.
tons of people watching, right? So someone saw that he was there. All the cameras are trained on it, and it's like they're just gonna say like, "Oh yeah, he showed up and then she jumped and he didn't save her." And even if people don't get the impression, oh, he went there and talked her into committing suicide, which is what actually happened. they're still
Oh,
gonna
he
be
straight up
like,
murdered her.
Oh, talk to
oh,
her is like,
oh,
yeah.
does he throw her off?
He
I
literally
I can't
threatened.
She
remember.
decides he
Oh, okay,
talks her
yeah,
out
yeah,
of committing suicide, and then he's like, "No, fuck you, you're dying anyway." It's like, what the
yeah,
No, no,
fuck?
no, no. This is what happens. She
I
basically he shows up. They have a quick and back and forth, and she's so weirded out
yeah,
by Homelander that she's like, okay, maybe I don't want to kill myself. And then
yeah,
Homelander's like, nah, you're doing it anyway. It's like
yeah.
either you jump or I
Right.
make you jump.
Okay, so he coerces her
Yeah,
into doing it.
yeah.
But it so yeah, I couldn't remember the like I knew that he was at fault for it. But either way, the media is not going to be like, "Oh yeah, Homelander did this on purpose," right? But there's still going to have to be like he failed to save her, right? Like he was right there and couldn't save her. There's a problem, right? And that completely blasts his image. Like that's so bad for him. Um the perception of him being incompetent.
hmm If not like, well, I mean, obviously we know that it's outright malicious, but
Mhm.
like, I wonder if you could read that interpretation just from like viewing it from above or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I suppose you'd have to listen in, which I imagine if someone had their window open, they might have been able
Ah.
to hear the
I
conversation. I don't know.
I'm willing to give them the that nobody knew that he was like directly responsible for it, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
he's got to know based on like all of his experience in this industry and the things that he's established that he cares about like explicitly in the previous episode that he would save her anyway reluctantly. Like maybe he would like say some chilling things to her and then save her afterwards anyway, and it's like no one will believe you. Like but like
hmm
he'd have to save her.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree. Like the way, the fact that she dies at all is, it damages Homelander's character no matter how you kind of slice it. And I wish I could find the scene. Do you know what episode
Yeah,
it's from?
yeah. I mean, it goes against the like established character that we have for him.
I mean, could we also, though? I mean, I'm being really charitable here, but could we also maybe chalk it up to like Homelander's becoming more and more mentally unstable, and maybe he's not thinking about that at that moment?
That's what the
Not that he
show
doesn't. Not that he doesn't. Sorry.
that's what the show wants you to think.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
The
just that he's getting reckless, and it's like he does care if everybody loves him, but he's just like fucking not even
sure.
like on
Okay,
top of it.
you know what? If that's gonna be how they're gonna play it, then at the very least, people have to like the immediate backlash needs to be like, is Homelander even qualified for this job anymore?
right.
But I don't I don't buy into that anyway because it's like he still makes like he sucks at being the head of Vought, and that's because not only is he a bit unhinged, but he's also inexperienced at it. Um, but it's not like he didn't just suddenly become really dumb. Like he still like makes decisions based on his own pride and his own like status and stuff like that in the way that he did before, and then sometimes he just doesn't because the plot calls for it.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of it's like Schrodinger's character, you know what I mean? Like you um
No, I don't know what you mean.
well no, he basically, uh it's a flip of the coin as to if he's going to be, you know, acting subtly or just being completely overt. Um that's kind of what I mean by that. Maybe Schrodinger's not the best metaphor for that, or simile, or whatever the hell word it is. But
Yeah, because it would have to I guess like Hamlet would be Schrodinger's character.
mm, okay. Because
But
I'm thinking like, because especially in that first half of the season, it was basically like Homelander doing a normal interaction, but you can tell he's unhinged based on like
yeah,
based on his facial expressions and some of the stuff. Whereas like there was this season one and well, season one had the same type of scenes, but they were handled with much better in terms of like, oh, I mean, Homelander was just better characterized, and it wasn't like borderline cartoony as to how Homelander would
yeah,
interact with, um, people that he viewed as inferior.
yeah. Certainly. when the story's told in a way where Homelander would do this thing, except it's more interesting, and he comes off as more like terrifying, I
Hmm.
guess. Um,
Well, because that was always, I thought that was kind of um the scary thing about Homelander was that he did know, like he was very much aware of his perception, and he very much took steps to maintain his public image.
yeah.
Um, and that was reflected in the way he interacted with people, even in a one-on-one environment when
Hmm.
the cameras weren't rolling, but he would just give those hints, and it was those hints of like, yeah, I can like, destroy you should I choose to. Um,
Yeah.
but it wasn't out of frustration. It was just out of just like pure just I want to dominate you basically.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I liked him like bullying A Train and the Deep like several times in the season.
yeah, 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 and
I
like
I
he
liked the whole subplot where he forced Starlight to be his like public girlfriend. Like that was like classic Homelander. Like
yeah,
that was
and honestly the scene where Homelander forces the Deep to eat the octopus, I think is a good example of that.
Of
Um,
like him being subtle about like I can
yeah,
do whatever the fuck. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah. Um,
yeah, like the underlying threat, which
yeah,
is
yeah. I mean, it's
like
a bit
hey,
more. I think if the show was written such that like the scene with the octopus, was the most overt that it got, I would much more appreciate the writing in it. The problem is, especially in the early half, um, like there's a scene between the Deep and Homelander in the uh, backstage of like a film set or whatever, where the Deep is pitching something, and the Deep talks about how he got a spot on a show, and Homelander is just like, "Oh, how did you get that spot?" And then, like his unhingedness isn't um it's not coming from a place of I can do this because because I want to just dominate you. It's coming from a place of frustration and kind of childhood narcissism, I
mhm,
suppose. Um, and it makes it, I think as a result, it makes Homelander a worse, like not like a worse character like written wise, because I think it's kind of overt and obvious, but also I think it weakens Homelander because it just turns him into just like a spoiled child.
I'm
If you don't,
gonna
if you
I'm
like,
gonna disagree with you on this one. I thought that the scene where the Deep had to like basically like fumble all over himself to try and explain how he got a spot on that show before Homelander was a good scene. I think that his because it's like that's kind of been his major weakness as a character since the beginning anyway, is that he is very petty, and it's
right,
like
I guess.
the Deep is gonna suffer for this later.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
um
you can. So it's not. It's the issue isn't that the Deep is stumbling over his words. That's not the issue that I
no,
take.
no, no, the way that Homelander talks in that scene, but like the
Yeah.
fact that he's like got like thinly veiled contempt for this whole thing, right? Like
Mhm.
is it makes sense to me, right? Like he's not like statesmanlike or anything like that.
Oh,
He he
yeah.
is
I
very
guess.
easily rattled by status games.
Yeah, and I don't take issue with that like on its face. I just think that Homelander in season one um would have gotten the same result while still maintaining more of his composure.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. There's definitely like for scenes like that, you need subtlety in the writing and in the acting.
Hmm.
But the fact
Maybe
that it's
maybe
like
it's just
it's
a directing
very
problem
clear,
then. I don't know.
could be. It's
Because
very clear to the audience that he is like upset and will lash out about this. Is like
right, but it was
that makes
obvious
sense
to
to
the
me.
point where I don't like the characters were noticing it, and I would have
Yeah.
preferred it if the scene was done where like the characters didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Um. But yeah, I don't like certainly it could have been done better, but I don't object
Hmm.
to the scene like on its sort of face value.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. I sorry if I gave that impression. That's not what I was trying to come across. It's simply
Yeah, yeah.
like the scene was like, I see what you're going for. Like I think that's an example of like a 5 out of 10 scene.
So let me, I guess, let me talk about something similar that resonated a bit more with me.
Hmm.
Was right near the end of the season. There's so they sent Starlight in to get more V because of course,
Oh yeah.
fucking anyone could just waltz in and get more V. Uh,
Oh
and
yeah. I think I know what you're
yeah, and
talking about. Yeah.
he hears her come into the building because of course he does. He's paying attention. And she's trying to leave, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna kill you now." And they have this little conversation, and then she's like, "Oh, I've been live streaming this entire thing."
Yes.
And then
That's
he quickly tries to save face. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're running lines for a play or whatever, right?" Like it's like I don't necessarily mind that scene in a vacuum, but I don't buy that he cares about that at all anymore based on how he was acting for the last 4 episodes.
right.
It's like like he clearly doesn't care about his image enough. If he allowed all those other things to happen, and now he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're just running lines," haha, right? Like he'd just friggin' murder her and be like, "Yeah, she was a traitor," right? Like, yeah.
True. Oh my god, it keeps bouncing me back to episode 1 when I don't want that. I want episode 7. Because I'm pretty sure that scene happens in episode 7, right?
Yeah, I think so. I
I
can't
believe so. Yeah.
remember when they
I
needed.
think it was 7.
Yeah, that whole subplot was stupid as well, where it's just like, oh, Huey, you shouldn't be doing
Oh,
V24 because it has side effects and we don't know what they are. And you could do serious damage to yourself.
but I feel
And
inadequate,
also,
so I'm going to
yeah,
do it anyway.
and also, what's the Kimiko? We're just gonna inject more V into you. We have no idea what will happen when we do this, but you made your decision. It's like, what? How are you gonna have the same character come to those two different
So,
conclusions?
so is the argument that she cares more about Huey than Kimiko? So she,
No, I don't think so. I think
okay.
it's just that Kimiko is already superpowered, so it's status quo for her to be superpowered. But it's like that's stupid.
Yeah, that's
You
kind of
have
how I took
no
it.
idea. You have
Also,
no idea. Like, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I also took it as like the regular V is stable, so it's not gonna kill you if you take it, especially somebody who already used to have powers.
Well,
Whereas the V24, she saw all the notes about how it like side effect death. So
oh no. I'm cool with the fact that V24 has side effects. She didn't know when she first got mad about it what they were, right? But it's like it's not fully
true.
tested, so she knows this thing might be dangerous and probably is. So it's reasonable for her to get angry about that. The thing is, Kimiko is an adult who is unpowered at this point. I don't think we've ever had any other character lose their powers because that's a thing that Soldier Boy does that other people don't seemingly do. So when you get injected with V as an adult, you die. So we don't
Do they
actually
establish that?
know. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
You
guess they
can
had like a
only
previous
Yeah.
be
season.
injected with V when you're a kid. And
Yeah.
so Kimiko is an unpowered adult. We have no idea how someone whose body is used to having powers will react to being injected with V. For all we know, she will die when this happens. And she doesn't even consider it. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do this extremely dangerous thing to get you V, where I might die, for a chance that you might be able to get your powers back. uh we have no idea, and all that after being like, you can't do this, it's dangerous, Huey. It's like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
And the more we talk about it, the more I feel like I'm gonna knock it down to a 5 for me.
good, good.
glad to be of service.
Let the hate flow through you.
I said this is I don't know.
it,
This happens with every single thing. Like
it's funny.
Oh, wait till we talk about
Sorry, go ahead.
Interstellar in
I was
depth.
gonna say, this happens with everything with Mr. Nathan and I. Is like Like he'll be like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, that was like an 8 out of 10, and he's like, no, that was like a 3 out of 10. I'm like, okay. It's like every single, like it's not. It's usually it's like 2 points apart. I'm like, that was like an 8. You're like, no, that was a 6. I'm like, oh man, that was like a 6 out of 10. You're like, no, that was a 4. Like, and then the more we talk about it, I'm usually like, okay, I'll drop it by a point. You're right. I'm too charitable with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I came away from this season being like, yeah, that was pretty good, I guess. Like, you know, there were a lot of things I didn't like in the moment, but I think I was being kind of nitpicky. And then I sat down and wrote about it, and the more I wrote, the more I was like, you know what? This was
Yeah.
not as good as I thought.
Yeah, it's definitely The Boys is like on paper should be a show that I am like head over heels for, you know what I mean? Because I love the idea and concept, but they just they keep fumbling the ball a bit with with the way scenes are written and the way characters are handled and stuff like that. And ultimately it's going to become like uh, a 5 out of 10 show, which I mean, like, you know, it already is at that point compared to like the
Mm.
highs of season 1 and the lows of season 2, and season 3 is, um, you know, kind of it meets that middle road to where, you know, to your point where it's like, yeah, it's fine, okay, um, but the way people are talking about it and I mean, obviously, like the writers of the show and stuff like that don't think about the show that way, but like clearly the general reception is that this is like a third season of 8 out of 10 material at least kind of thing.
Oh, I mean, the general reception I think has been even better than that. Yeah,
Right.
people thought this was really good, and that's like,
So,
no, it's
and I
not.
know I shouldn't do this. I I'm like you know, I like to like read about episodes after I watch it, like YouTube comments on clips and like the subreddit and whatnot. I have noticed that overall the fan base of the boys aren't necessarily the best, the brightest toys in the Happy Meal.
I mean, you're gonna get that with any fan base. I don't
I
like to.
I don't know if I totally agree. Like Better Call Saul's got a pretty smart fan base. The Sopranos is a pretty smart fan base.
Well, unless
Different
you're
ones are.
talking like, you know, the Free Folk subreddit where they just like the subreddit dedicated to hating season 8. Like, I
Yeah,
I
don't
should join
know.
that.
It's
yeah. I
very
mean,
funny. It's very
I
funny.
think anything sort of becomes mainstream, and it's like a bunch of the fan base is gonna be really dumb, and
Well,
that's
it's like
fine.
the same thing is happening with Star Trek. Apparently, it's like you cannot criticize Star Trek on the Star Trek subreddit.
Oh
L-
yeah, no. So Star
Like,
Trek's terrible now.
like all of the Red Letter Media videos that criticize the new Star Trek are like
Oh, they
banned
hate that.
from being
Yeah,
So
posted onto that subreddit, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. The Star
yeah,
Trek
you
subreddit
know,
hates Red Letter Media. Yeah, yeah.
shout out to Ripaverse. Everyone go support him.
yeah, I know, Rox. I know you hate watched season 2 of Picard all by yourself, which sounds
Oh
like a
God,
nightmare.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah. I guess we'll touch on that really quick. I mean, compared to that, compared to that, season 3 of The Boys was 10 out of 10. That's
I
one of the
mean,
worst seasons of
considering
anything I've ever forced myself to like go all the way through. It was just I can't. I don't even get me started. I can't.
and we should
I just have
mention
to
as
bury this.
well that considering how charitable you are for media, that for you to say that it is like the worst thing ever made, it must
It
be
was
really
okay.
fucking
Here's me being
bad.
charitable. It was a 2 out of 10.
That's
Maybe, okay, no,
that
no,
is
I can't even
awful.
say it was a 3 out of 10. It was like a 2 out of 10. If yeah, it was a 2 out
Wow,
of 10. Season 2 of Picard.
it must have been very bad.
Yeah, yeah. So I will
I
not
could
be
rant for a
watching
whole
that.
2 hours about this, so I'll just bury this one for now. If you guys ever feel like hate watching season 2 of Picard, though, we could
No,
totally do a podcast about that.
no,
I I don't have the background in Star Trek, unfortunately. It's like
that
Oh
too.
yeah, fair enough.
it's one of those things where it's like, all right, do I really want to sit down and watch all of TNG so I can watch a product that I know I will hate?
Okay, well the one thing I'll say is you should sit down and watch all of TNG because it's amazing. But like that, like in and of itself, but like just doing it for the sake of watching season 2 of Picard, because then you're gonna be like, wow, this is great. Then you're gonna watch season 1
Yeah.
of Picard and be like, ugh. Then you're gonna watch season 2 of Picard and be like, oh. There goes my will to live.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally caused Mike to not want to watch Star Trek anymore because he's like, I'm too attached to this.
Yeah.
And
That was
he
actually
That's pretty
depressing.
impressive.
and he was like, he could remember the episode titles, like for every episode of TNG, and maybe even
Yeah,
the
he's like the
original
biggest Star
series as
Trek fan.
well.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like season 2 of Picard is so bad, I can't even watch good Star Trek anymore. It's like Jesus.
That's messed up.
Yeah, like fuck, like I hate Alien Covenant, like I hate that film. I will still watch the other films in the franchise, like
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna be real. There's a very solid chance. Like, all right, hold on. Let me preface that. If I don't have kids, there's a very solid chance I'll never watch the Star Wars trilogy again, like the good one.
oh, the OT?
Yeah,
Oh, why is that?
because my love for the franchise is dead.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, well, think like they only made 3 films, so
Ha. Yeah. Yeah.
you know what's
It's
gonna happen? I just had this thought. You know what's gonna happen if we watch Kenobi? It's gonna be the same thing. You guys are gonna be like,
no.
yeah, this is like a
So
2 out of 10. Every episode, I'm gonna be like, I didn't think it was that bad. And you guys are gonna be like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
well,
Like, how is this grown ass bassist unable to catch this 5-year-old girl? He's like running like he's like, you know, when your dad is trying to catch you when you're a kid, he's like, I'm the tickle monster, I'm coming to get you. Like that's how he's running after her, and she's just like sort of like slowly going past like tree branches and stuff, and he's like, I'm coming, I'm gonna catch you. Like,
sorry, what is this from?
oh, the first episode of Kenobi. They
Oh
have
shit. Okay.
they have
Jesus Christ.
Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers as one of the
Yeah.
like mercenaries or bounty hunters that's like trying to kidnap Princess Leia. That's like it's so poorly filmed. Like the scene makes no goddamn sense.
No, a little girl can
Okay,
outrun
fair
a
enough.
grown-ass man. Come on.
Several, yeah.
I will say, so not to tangent too much from Star Wars and bring it back to The Boys, but
hmm.
I will say, as bad as The Boys season 3 does get, it never gets as bad as characters not being able to outrun a child.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Um,
The character, like, man, the characters, unfortunately, they do dumb things sometimes in contrast to what they should like do based on their characteristics. But they're never like just like blatantly incompetent when they're not established to be incompetent characters.
Right.
I'm about to pop. I can't. Okay. Again, at the risk of going on too much of a tangent here, so I'll just. You guys aren't gonna watch it, so you give a fuck if I spoil like Picard here. My biggest issue with Picard is that, and there's a million issues, but the biggest, most glaring one is that Patrick Stewart is not playing Jean-Luc Picard that he played for 7 seasons and like 4 movies. Like that's a character that he played. Jean-Luc Picard is a specific character. In season 1 and season 2 of Picard, Patrick Stewart's just playing himself. It's
He's
not
playing
the same
He's
character.
playing Jake Picard.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like it's like you're not even playing
I
the
get
character.
joke.
Did
I
you?
get the joke. Damn.
That went over my head. But it's like you're not even playing that
No.
character.
No.
And then like season 2
okay.
is all based around time travel. They get sent back into the year 2024, and so like at the very beginning they set up like all these rules. Are like, if we fuck with anything, then it's gonna drastically alter the future that we're trying to fix. So we can't use our technology. Blah blah blah. And then they just blatantly use their technology all over the place and interfere with shit. And they just like they beam out like in the middle of like 7 of 9 and this other character get caught in like a bunch of cop cars like converge on them, so they just beam them up to the ship and all the cops see it. And it's like, didn't you say in the first fucking episode that you couldn't do that? It's just like, oh my, everything is wrong with that.
No,
But
just to
season 2 of Picard, just oh my god.
the Jake Picard joke is a reference to Mark Hamill saying how he wasn't playing Luke Skywalker, he was playing Jake Skywalker.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm one of the few that actually I didn't hate
Oh no.
old Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker, but
All
I'm not
right.
super attached
All
to it.
right. Time we
Or we can't talk about it.
No.
Yeah, we'll have to go
No.
back.
Really. spoiler.
No,
We can talk about the new trilogy. We can't talk about the new trilogy right now. There's not enough time.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the boys. I guess.
I have heard Dan talk about his experience with the sequel trilogy, and
Yeah.
I would love to be part of a conversation just to like hear him go off, like to hear you go off. That sounds very entertaining to me. But yeah, no, it can't be today because it'll probably take 5 hours to get through the first half of just the first movie. So
Yeah, yeah. I tend to rant when you bring up the sequel trilogy to me. So
yeah,
yeah,
I don't
no,
think I
I
finished any of those. I
I
started watching the episode 7, and I
mhm.
never finished it. I was like, this is boring. I barely got halfway through. And I think it was the same thing with episode 8, and then I just never saw episode 9.
Yeah, I watched them all in theaters. Yeah,
same.
I'm so sorry.
and I went in to see episode 7, and I'm not gonna talk about episode 7 itself, but I went in to see it, and as I was watching it, I just became more and more angry the entire time, and then I left the theater. I was with like a bunch of the teachers from Korea, so it was like Tony and those guys. I left the theater, and everyone was like, "Yeah, that was really good," and I was like, what the fuck? Were you watching the same movie as me? Like, that was the most upsetting thing I've seen in a theater my entire life. And then that was the last movie I was invited to see with that group.
Oh god.
They went and saw movies like every weekend or every other weekend, and I never got invited again. Like, I ranted so much about how I hated that movie. And then I went online and everyone loved it, and I was just like, am I taking fucking crazy pills here or something? Right? And now we have like Mahler's retrospective and stuff where it's like, oh, actually, this movie wasn't really good. They pulled the wool over our eyes. It's like, they didn't pull the wool over my eyes. Fuck you.
Yeah, I will admit they got me for the first one, and even my first viewing of the second one too. I will admit that, but
Well,
Yeah.
to
yeah,
bring it
topic
back,
for
like,
another day.
okay, I'll leave it with this final thought from my perspective of somebody who doesn't give that much of a shit about it. Like,
Mm.
you said that, like, to me, episode 7 committed the cardinal sin of being boring. I couldn't even finish it. I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I'll
Well, there
watch
you
anything
go.
else right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
but unlike the sequel trilogy,
Sure, sure.
The Boys does
Pretty good.
actually remember some things about its past,
Right, right.
and does
Yeah.
make like to I think we mentioned this earlier, but like I think The Boys does handle the superpowers. Like, sorry, The Boys season 3 does handle um, the superpowers and being consistent with that a lot better than in season 2. Um,
Yeah.
I I haven't seen season 1 in forever, so I'm not going to say that it handles it as well as season 1. But if that is the case, I would not be surprised, because nothing as it relates to the way the powers function felt inconsistent to me with season 2, or sorry, with season 3
Mm.
rather. Um,
Um,
I will say,
yeah.
like, I don't know, another little complaint about the Compound V24. It's like it just acts like a tool for the writers to give the character whatever like powers they want. Um,
Yeah.
and don't I don't um how do I describe this? I wish there was a more I wish there was a less arbitrary way for the powers to be assigned to people, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
They
Right.
never
Um,
established that though, even in the other seasons.
I
Do they ever
no,
say like, oh,
uh,
here's why Starlight controls electricity,
no, but
well,
like no, and for
they're
for
all
better or
given the
for
same
worse.
compound to give
And
them
I
here's the
superpowers as
thing.
children, but then they never explain like why who gets what.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't be bringing this up if Compound V24 wasn't a thing. Um,
yeah, true.
because the point of Compound V initially, if I remember correctly, it's like no one knows what powers you're going to get as a child, and kind of as you grow up and develop, then you grow up and develop into your power as well. Um, But with Compound V24, it's like you take it and you just like instantly have powers for 24 hours and they instantly go away. So it's becomes a little more arbitrary in that sense. And um, I wish that the ways like like I said, I wish it wasn't so arbitrary. Like there was an actual kind of method as to why characters
Well,
had certain
I
powers and stuff like
I
that.
don't I don't really see why that matters to the story. Like it
No,
doesn't.
I'm thinking of it just because um well I say it because I am annoyed that Homelander just sorry, not Homelander, that Butcher just conveniently has the same power set as
Oh
Homelander.
yeah.
So I
Um
saw a thing online. One person's theory was that when
and
they take
like
V24, it's like whatever they were thinking about or whatever they hate the most. So it's like Butcher's obsessed with Homelander because he hates him, so that's why he got the laser eyes. And they had some reasons for why Huey got teleportation or something. And it was like, okay, I guess maybe.
yeah, like you know,
It's like Huey's character is like always running away from stuff, so we got
well
teleportation. I
here
don't
like
fucking
here's
remember what it
something
was.
like what if like what if Butcher didn't get those superpowers? What if he had Huey's power, for example, or his power, or if fuck, like even if they just gave uh Butcher like power of super strength, like so his defense rating is like a gajillion, so he could even withstand the laser blasts of Homelander, then you could almost have your cake and eat it too in the sense of like you could
I
have your
Yeah.
characters with their superpowers, but Homelander is still top dog, and Butcher would still have to find creative ways in order to defeat Homelander.
uh,
Yeah.
so
But
I
the
was just gonna
way
say I haven't
so
read the comics, but that's basically what it is in the comics when they take V. They don't get superpowers; they just get like strength and endurance.
okay,
Like
well,
I
I
don't think they
mean,
shoot lasers or
like,
fly or anything or teleport or anything like that.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about it in isolation as a show, like, because the way it's done right
Yeah.
now, it's just like, oh, Butcher is exactly like Homelander in every shape, way, or form. So,
Yeah.
like ultimately, what's the tension? Because especially, and I know you mentioned this a couple times already, TPB, like you can only have them fight so many times like and have Homelander run away to where it just becomes boring. Um, and like
Uh,
you know what you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
have to
Of
you can only
course.
do that
You
so many
don't want to
times, right? So
have your like main villain be defeated like right near the beginning of your trilogy and just ruin all the tension. I mean, sorry, in episode 7 of this show, um have your main villain just be defeated in combat and have to run away and ruin all the tension. Because when that happens,
well,
then they're gonna fight again at some point, and then it's gonna be like, oh, okay, well this is already a
so
foregone conclusion in some ways.
the
So
Well,
actually
I didn't mind
so
that. You're talking about the scene where the three of them team up against Homelander.
yeah, yeah, I liked like it was fine. It was just like it undercut the tension of the final scene because like that was the type of thing that would have been better to show up in the final scene, but then they couldn't just have it exactly like that again, and they couldn't have the exact like Butcher Homelander fight that they had in the Herogasm episode
mhm.
again in episode 8. And
Y- You're saying
they ended
I
because
up.
will say
you're
this
saying
though.
because we know that. You're saying because sorry, just so I'm clear, like you're saying because they've already established that Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Huey together with powers can already defeat Homelander.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I will
yeah,
say
that.
um just to not well, I'll say this. The way Homelander leaves that conflict makes a lot more like the way that conflict ends makes a lot more sense than the way um the fight in that trilogy ends. Um,
Mhm.
it's not like the Earth
Oh yeah,
literally
there's
splits
no
in two.
Deus Ex Machina for
Uh,
this one. It's like we know he can fly, and he's like,
yeah.
oh hey, I'm in over my head, which is the first time he's ever been in over his head,
Well,
right?
and
So
it
it's
and it
like,
leads to a good scene with Maeve at the beginning of the next
mm,
episode, where it's like
oh
Maeve's like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
this is the first time I've actually
I
seen you
d-
scared."
I don't like I don't object to that scene on face value. It's just it necessitates doing something different in the finale, and what they
Right.
decided to do in the finale wasn't very good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, and you know, it begs the question of like how they're going to handle seasons 4 and 5, because it's like
mhm.
in
Is it
many
has it been
ways
renewed to season 5? I thought it was
Yeah,
just
probably
4.
no, it has.
it
I'm pretty
has.
sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And unless I'm just completely misremembering.
Mm,
I think they have 2 more seasons
yeah. Well, because
on the.
it does kind of, you know, it does feel like A, that they've blowed their wad a bit early, no pun intended. Um, and B, it's yeah, it's like where do you go from here? Like I mentioned this, like I said, you can only have those two characters facing off before it just becomes like, um, you know, like who's
Yeah,
the villain in Inspector Gadget or whatever that keeps getting
Dr.
foiled?
Claw.
Dr.
You know,
Claw, yeah.
or who's the
Yeah.
villain in Star Wars that keeps getting defeated? Like, you know,
Uh,
you can only have the Empire be defeated so many
yeah.
times before you
The
start to
Emperor.
question their authority
Chief,
as the
Chief, Creamy
Empire.
Chief Palpatine.
You know, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
you can only have them fight so many times before it's like, oh, is Homelander actually like that strong? And
Yeah, well, exactly. He's terrifying to the extent that nobody will even try to fight him until a certain point, and then it's like, oh, well, he's lost a couple of times. Like it's, so there's there has to be, like, if you're going to have that kind of conflict, there has to be extenuating circumstances. Like it would have been cool, I think, if they had done something like weird with Homelander's powers as a result of Soldier Boy, because that
mm,
would give an opportunity for him to lose, and for him to,
okay, so that's
escape with his tail through his leg, between
that's
his legs, or
yeah, that's
whatever.
something I wanted to mention as well, because there's that dumb moment in that fight scene. Um, we're going back to that final fight scene at the end of season
The,
3
the
again.
final. Okay, so
Um,
actually, are you thinking about the same moment? Because I wanted to bring
so
up
yep, I
the
think
starlight
it. Yeah,
powering
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. That's
Okay,
exactly what
yeah,
I'm getting
okay,
at.
yeah.
So, um,
So that
well,
was dumb.
there's multiple things, right? Because there's the quote unquote completion of Huey's character arc that happens the scene before, which is like
Oh, so dumb.
it's like okay, fine, whatever. Um, you know, that's kind of how I felt at least. Um, but yeah, like so he pushes up the lights, Starlight's soaking up all this energy,
And the
whatever,
music is like they make like such a big
building up.
like the music's swelling and like the camera angles and stuff. They're like they build it up as like, oh, this is gonna be the thing, and then just like, okay, what the hell was the point of that? Like, if you wanted to just show that Soldier Boy's that strong, then why do you need to show all that build up? I don't know.
And
That was just hilarious. I just started
And
laughing at that. She just
here we
oh
go.
collapses to the
yeah,
floor.
Here we go. I got if you guys watch the stream there, I have it pulled up.
yeah.
So
Oh
it's like
man, it's so
we
it's
get all
so
this build
silly.
up, all the lights, and
Yeah,
you know, she looks like a god.
yeah.
She's literally floating in the air, like oh da da da. And then what happens? Oh, I just skipped it. Hold on.
It's not. Yeah.
And then does a big huge
Oof.
kablamo and oh 6 feet.
Boof.
Like
Yeah.
so here's when I remember
Yeah.
when I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, I actually thought that um, I thought what was going to happen was Starlet was going to remove Soldier Boy's powers because of all that energy or whatever, and that's what I thought was going to happen, and that was going to um, be what helps or like be the like the spark or whatever that gets them to like take him down because he obviously
Yeah, yeah.
he can't do anything.
Uh,
And I thought that
so
would have made sense just because we've never seen Starlight with that amount of energy before. And I could easily believe that if she gets like a super abundance of energy, that like like a hidden superpower would be that she can remove other people's powers. And I base that, well,
but that would make sense.
yeah,
I mean, I
because
would
like
buy that if they did that.
because the way that she like lights up and stuff like that is very similar to the way Soldier Boy does, like you know with the big charging and stuff like that that we've seen in season like in the earlier episodes of season 3 and stuff like that. So I think there is like obviously one of the powers that you can't have is removing other people's powers. So
okay, so what was
yeah.
the point of that whole thing just to show how powerful Soldier Boy is? Was that it?
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I don't know.
Because
Man,
we already knew that.
I've
We
been
already knew
sitting
that
here
Soldier
scratching.
Boy was like
Well, okay,
indestructible.
but did you know that Homelander's not a very good person?
You know,
You can see Maeve and Homelander
They
fighting in the
show
background.
they showed you. It was subtle, but they showed you a couple of times in that episode. I think that's going to be a big plot point in season 4.
I should go back and rewatch it. I guess I missed that. They were too subtle with it.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that I read that the same way. It was like, oh, okay, this is the thing. Huey can't actually help her by teleporting in and saving her or whatever, which is fine, right? It's like we know that this thing will kill him if he takes it, so it makes sense that he would make the choice not to, and that is a sacrifice for him. The fact that it was justified in the first case is kind of glossed over by the show, and we just get the like, oh, he's dumb and a chauvinist or whatever. But like,
White male privilege or whatever.
the situation that he's in
Savior
makes
complex.
sense. The fact that he's like, hey, I can actually do something despite the fact that I don't have any powers that will maybe make us win this fight. That's all good. And he does that, and then she does this, like, they do spend so much time on this scene where it's like all this like build up, and then it does literally nothing, and it's like, why are
Like,
we
oh my
establishing
God.
it?
So the only possible interpretation I can think that we're supposed to take away is that Soldier Boy just did you know that Soldier Boy is really powerful?
Right. Yeah,
I didn't know before that point that he was
withstand.
powerful. Like the scene when they showed the Russians firing a machine gun into his mouth, I didn't really, that didn't tip me off until they had the Starlight thing.
Yeah,
Like,
when he I mean, the fact that he beat like all of his previous team at the same time, like basically, or or he just went and like every time he goes toe to toe with anyone, he just instantly wins it. It's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, we had no idea this guy was tough. Like,
Doesn't this scene happen right like earlier in the fight
Look
scene?
at the I didn't
Doesn't Butcher shoot his eye lasers directly into Soldier Boy's face and nothing happens?
I think so. I don't remember where he hits him. He does shoot him because
But
he's
like
trying to
I
stop him
sent you
from
guys a
killing
screen. I
Ryan or
can't send you
whatever.
guys on Discord right now. I have to send it. I sent to you on Facebook or whatever. But
Okay.
like, look at the screenshot that I sent. Like, that's how much fucking power she has. Like, that's how much they
Yeah.
build it up. Like, it's the
Yeah.
screen is almost pure white.
Right.
And
So
it's like, nope.
it's like yeah, this is an opportunity for them to establish. It's like, oh, if she gets like really an insane amount of power, she could do something that would even threaten Homelander. And then it's
Right.
like, oh, okay, later on in the series, this could become relevant, right? Like now
Right.
we have a different aim. How do we get her enough power that she can threaten Homelander? But no, we don't have that. We have her floating in the air and then launching Soldier Boy on his ass, and he just stands up immediately, and it doesn't matter at all. It's like, what? Why did you do this?
Yeah, yeah. It feels like a missed opportunity. Especially considering how much build up they gave. Like, oh my God. It was like, it feels like a joke, honestly.
Like kind of yeah. So yeah, I think we're all on the same page that the writing on this show has some holes in it. I think the one thing I'll say is good actors, like talented actors, can elevate a shitty script, and I feel like that's kind of what happens with the boys, and that's why when you go online, everybody's
I think that's
like you're feeling when you saw episode 7. That's why everybody's like, oh, it's so great. And it's like maybe you're just kind of not thinking about the writing here.
I think that's certainly the case with Homelander. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Starr is just so good
Anthony
that he
Starr's good.
elevates
yeah.
like bad writing.
Definitely.
And same thing with Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy
I
is just so good. Like
Well, he's
I
also
mean
a
I
better written character too.
yeah, Soldier Boy is not a very complex character either,
No.
right? Like he's got the one scene that actually has any sort of like emotional complication, and otherwise he's pretty consistent. So it's not, Jensen Ackles does a good job of it, but it's not like he really needs to
Yeah.
do anything.
Oh, I
Like,
mean, there's some
yeah, that's
good
true.
moments like when oh fuck, like when Huey's like, "You have PTSD." He's like, "I don't have PTSD. Fuck you."
Yeah, that line
Yeah,
was
like,
fun. I like the fact that so there's good writing. The fact that he says I don't have shell shock. Fuck you. Like he would have called it shell shock because he's from like the 1930s, right?
Right.
Yeah, his delivery on that was great. It's like I don't have shell shock. Fuck you. Like yeah,
and and that
there's some good
other
moments.
like
I
when
like
he's
I
right
like
about the
episode 7
nuns
a
and
lot.
stuff too. It's like no, they're
Yeah.
not real nuns. They're just like projections from the guy, or not projections. But he's like he's taken over their mind or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like no. And then he's like ultimately
This
right.
is
I'm like
his
okay,
MO.
cool.
Yeah.
Like I like that. I like that. That Soldier Boy's basically right about everything whenever he makes a claim, he's like
Yeah,
basically
pretty
right.
much. Okay, shit. So I know I'm like sidetracking here, but can we talk about A
Picard?
Train?
No, we already did that.
Oh, now I was gonna say, can we talk about A Train this season?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I thought that A Train's arc, if you ended it after he kills Blue Hawk and then he dies there, perfect ending to his character and like the arc that they gave him, throughout all 3 seasons. But
would have been
nope, we
better.
gotta keep it going.
It feels like a Twilight
Ah.
Zone ending. Like, oh no, he has the heart of a racist in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
that's
they should have A Train. If A Train died in that, like he finally comes around to like being human somewhat, actually apologizes to Huey, and like it took like his brother getting like paralyzed for him to do it, but whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. He actually apologizes, and Huey doesn't give a shit and punches him in the face anyway because he wanted to, and then he finally knows he's gonna die, and he murders this like racist, awful guy, and then dies in the process and sacrifices himself. Like, okay, maybe it's not perfect,
Well, he
but
doesn't sacrifice himself.
like exactly, he should have. Like that would have been so much better than just like, oh, now you have his you're
What if
like,
it was?
now you have his heart in you. You got a racist heart in you.
What if A Train with the racist heart ran up into the fight scene in that last episode and took out the racist bad guy, aka Soldier Boy,
That would have
and
been better.
it was A Train instead of Maeve.
That still would have been better than what they did. Yeah, with
yeah,
A Train
I mean,
and with Maeve.
A Train at least was in a position where it would have made sense for him to do that. Like it's like at that like not in terms of where he physically was, because I guess just like sitting in the break room or something. Like
Yeah, but what has that
uh,
stopped the writers of the boys?
fair. But in terms of where his character was at that point, it's like he is so desperate to figure out how to do a thing that will actually be a legitimate good at this point, and he has no idea how to do it. And like his attempts to do it have just like he shows up to his brother's place and he's like, I'm gonna try and be better or whatever, and he's like, no, stay away from me, right? It's like he's everything is going wrong for him, despite the fact that he's doing what he thinks is like actual good at this point. Like he's trying to change his character. So it would have made a lot more sense if he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna kill myself to save everybody, because that's like,
Yeah.
That's what I thought
for me. But I don't mind that he's in this position either, because I think he probably ultimately will do something like that, and it's fine that his character arc is headed in that direction.
Sure. I just think it's funny that they're like, "Oh, we gave you the racist man's heart," and yeah, like I said, it feels like a Twilight Zone episode ending where it's like, do 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 do, oh, like, you know what I mean? It's like, be careful what you wish for. You wanted a new heart, but now you have the heart of a racist in you. Like,
your heart beats out crime statistics.
yeah, and he's like, 1350,
Jesus Christ.
That's a very odd heartbeat.
No. It's just like
Homelander's like, it's like, A Train, why's your heart beating 13/50?
Jesus. Yeah, I don't think they could get away with that line.
Probably not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's just like, I have a sudden urge to look up FBI crime statistics based on race. Like
the whole subplot with Blue Hawk is so dumb. It's so dumb. It's just like
it's such ham-fisted like political.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't even mind. I don't mind the character being like, oh yeah, I go to bad neighborhoods and the bad neighborhoods happen to have black people and the black people are the people that I happen to like beat up because they're the ones committing the crimes in the neighborhoods that I police. It's like, all right, I get that. And then if he actually is racist and he's just using that as cover, I get that too. What I don't get is why when he goes to try and solve this thing and the people are like we don't believe you, he just starts fucking like throwing them into
That's
walls.
true.
Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't make it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. It's like, all right, you're using this as a cover so you can do your racism, and like basically over police or whatever, right?
Well, that
So
okay,
like,
yeah, from like a meta perspective, that
yeah,
is what it's supposed to be saying. It's
yeah,
like, oh, like
yeah.
this is what like they're trying to paint people that actually think that way as racists with that plot line.
Sure. I know. I mean, I get that. There's the political message underneath or whatever, but it's like that's fine for them to have a character that's like that. It's whatever. It's
Right. I just
there are definitely people out there that are like that, right?
oh
Not
sure.
the state of the entirety of the police, right? But
I
there
know
are
that.
people that are
The
like that.
problem is that's
And
not what the writers are going for, and
no,
that's
of
what I
course
take
not.
issue with.
No, well, I mean, sure. That's
Yeah. That's all.
and you can be for or against that kind of politicking in television, and it's kind of whatever. But it's like I just want to know how much it affects the story, um, unless it gets. I mean, yeah, no, actually, that's it. I just want to know how much it affects the story because eventually it gets to the point where it just makes the story terrible. Because there's just no way you can fit that much politicking into your show.
Mhm.
So the fact that this guy is going intentionally to black neighborhoods and finding black criminals to beat up because he doesn't like black people is like, okay, sure, whatever, that's his character. But then yeah, the way that he shows up to try and correct his image and just ends up throwing people into walls, and it's like, people have cameras, right? Like, you are going to be filmed, and then they'll be like, hey, see, he was a racist after all, and then they'll have to acknowledge it because you're throwing innocent black people into walls for no reason. Like,
So I do feel like, okay, maybe this is why I'm more charitable towards stuff in general, because I feel like you can pretty much explain away anything stupid by just, oh, the character is stupid.
sure.
No.
That's the thing, is like, this character is not stupid. He's just racist, right? It's like, so the fact that he's racist is like, okay, well, that's part of his character. But the fact that he just gets like he's in the middle of this room and he knows how important this thing is to his like livelihood and being able to continue being who he is, and then he just starts chucking people into walls. It's like, no, that's really bad writing.
Well, that was I, to your stupid uh comment there. I was thinking, like, we talked about this a bit yesterday, where I was like, um because Jacob had talked about this like the week before and stuff like that, and it's um Butcher's choice to take the compound V24, like basically goes against everything his character stood for up to that point, because the whole idea behind Butcher was that he hates V24, or well, not V24, but like he hates superheroes and like everything
Yeah,
to
he
do with
hates
them
all
and stuff
Yeah,
like
he
that.
superheroes.
hates.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he hates V and Vought for what it did to his family, right? So like
Mhm.
Well,
he.
he also just like racist against anybody with superpowers, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah. He doesn't like anyone that has superpowers, regardless of whether they're good people or not, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah. And
like
then
he treats Kamiko like trash, and he like hates Starlight, even though they're the good people who are on
right,
his
yeah.
side.
No, of course, and this is an established character trait of his. It's like one of his greatest values is being able to take down superheroes while not himself being a superhero. And then as soon as like this guy who's basically Revolver Ocelot and or like Deadshot or whatever, Bullseye, whatever he basically is, right?
Oh, what
Um
is his name? I'm blanking
no, I
out.
mean, I know that's not his name, but like basically who he is.
It's Sniper Man.
Gunpowder is his
Oh,
Oh,
name.
yes.
Gunpowder. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but so he ends up trying to pump this guy for information, and the guy just starts ricocheting bullets at him or whatever. And it's like, that is not the level of superpowered that normally in season one Billy Butcher would have needed to do anything outside of his normal to beat, right? Like he would have, like if he loses that first encounter but manages to get away, as is what happens, he would have come up with a plan to like stop him from using his abilities, and then like tricked him into something, and put jumper cables on his balls or whatever, right? Like that's how that scene should have played out, right? And it's cool if he looks at the V and he's like, yeah, you know what? I don't need this. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, later on in the season, of course, they're foreshadowing like he's going to get in over his head and have to use it. And okay, whatever. Then that's a big character moment for him throwing away his ideals in order to probably have a shot at beating Homelander. And it's cool, maybe, even if they give us that stupid power set that's just Homelander's power set. If he's in this situation of extreme duress where he has to take the V and that's the power set that emerges, it's like, all right, that's way better than what we got. But no, he just takes the V on the spot and then goes and cuts this guy in half. And it's like, why would he make that choice in that moment when we know all these things that we know? Like, we know he's capable of taking down that level of superhero. He's always been able to do that.
Well, isn't like translucent like a stronger superhero? He's able to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, translucent was stronger than gunpowder, and yeah, it's just like non-superpowered Huey and Butcher get him in
and it's
first
been a
season,
year.
or
It's
second
been a
episode.
year of him going, like, I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, because that's what he does, is he goes and finds superheroes and takes them down. But like, it's been a year in between season 2 and 3 of him just doing that, like just going and tracking down superheroes and fucking them up. And it's like, why would he just like, why would he give up the fact, like, the moral high ground that he clearly considers himself on, and do this untested drug when he's like just encountering the slightest bit of resistance
Hey,
as far as he
remember that scene when he's looking at the blackmail? He's looking at the footage of
yeah,
Maeve and Homelander on
yeah,
the plane, and you hear the kettle boiling in the
yeah,
background, and it's like
yeah,
the whistling gets louder and louder and louder. It's
uh,
like,
yeah, I do.
oh man, what a great
Yeah,
scene.
and then he and Homelander just like have this fucking showdown in terms of like, they just like make fun
Yeah,
of
that
each
was a
other.
weird
Yeah,
conversation in
that
hindsight,
was
because it's just
very
like, hey, do you want to establish the status quo again from season 1? It's like, yeah, okay.
yeah. Yeah, and
I
the
wish they
only
would have just
reason
said that.
and the only reason Homelander doesn't kill him on the spot is because it wouldn't be sporting, right? Like, it's
Like,
like,
yeah, I know,
yeah,
as if Homelander
it,
gives a shit about that.
he should have no reason. The only thing keeping Butcher like not
Alive?
dead,
Yeah.
yeah, not cut in half with laser beams, should be that Homelander does not know or care where he is, right? Like, that's the fact, like,
Not a
that he
concern right
shows
now.
up.
Yeah, that kind of
Yeah,
way.
he shows up and he's just like, hey man, I miss having someone to fight against. You could be that someone. It's like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
So weird. So weird.
I
But
was
that's
thinking in
what
that scene. You're talking about the scene where they're chatting in Butcher's apartment, right?
yeah, like
Right.
episode 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing I was thinking. Doesn't he have the V24 in the cookie jar?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't Homelander have X-ray vision?
Yeah, well, that's another thing, right?
Wouldn't
Like,
Homelander have noticed that he had that?
yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's like in season 1, they go to like all this stuff. They go way out of their way to show you that, like, oh, we can't hide anywhere because these guys have superpowers, and Homelander can
Yeah.
see everything, and he has X-ray vision and supersonic hearing, and they can fly all over the world. And then
Mhm.
Homelander just strolls into his apartment and somehow doesn't notice that he has V24 in his cookie jar. Like, really?
Yeah.
Yep, that's another good reason they should not have shot that scene. And clearly they just wanted the like emotional payoff of like, oh hey, you know how these guys hate each other? Let's get these two actors in the same room. It's like, you guys got to be really careful about this.
Yeah, like even especially now. Well, like I said before about how you can only have them fight so much, it's like you can only have them interact so much. Like, especially considering those types of because like where those characters are and stuff, like they're supposed to be mortal enemies, so you can only have them interact so many
Yeah,
times
yeah,
before
they
it's
have
like
to interact in situations where Homelander can't just kill Butcher on the spot, right? Like
right.
you have to manufacture something um that's keeping Butcher alive in that situation.
Well, I mean,
And
the answer,
they
yeah, I
they
mean,
did
you know
a
what
good
the
job.
answer is, like to that question, like what's keeping them alive.
Plot armor.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, plot armor.
I was gonna say the writers, but yes, plot
Yeah,
armor
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, no, I'm aware.
Okay, so I'm gonna segue to another show here really quick.
No, not
Better
allowed.
Call. Okay, talk about plot armor done well though. Better Call Saul can't
Wait, what?
avoid plot armor. Okay, plot armor
Oh, I see
done
what you're
well,
saying.
right? Because the Better Call Saul set in 2002 to 2004. Breaking Bad
Right.
set 2008 to 2010. And there's a ton of
Right.
characters in Better Call Saul who we know are in Breaking Bad, and so they
Yeah.
clearly have plot armor in the sense that we know they're not going to die, and yet that show still somehow manages to make you fear for the characters who, even though you know they're going to be alive, like it's done, like that's
Mhm.
it done well.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I could buy that. I haven't seen it, so I would have to watch
I
it.
will
It
So
I will
it's
take
just the
your
way that
word
it's
for it.
shot and set up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
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 yeah, no
yeah,
yeah.
until
worries.
you watch, you have to take my word for
I
it. But
mean,
like, I'm just
honestly,
saying, like that's plot armor they can't
that's
work around, and they
it's
still somehow manage to do it. Like,
it's not. I mean, like you can have prequel series where the characters don't have plot armor because it's like, oh, you know they're gonna survive, but as long as their survival makes sense, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
that's what it.
it's yeah.
Yeah, plot armor is when Homelander and Butcher are in the same room together with no witnesses, and Homelander
Yeah.
chooses not to kill Butcher right then and there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, like
yeah,
if this were a prequel series for like some other superhero show, and Maeve was in it, it still would make no fucking sense that she survived at the end of the season.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, sorry, I know I keep bringing up other stuff, but it's like I don't know.
Well, that's
The
fair.
Yeah,
That's
easiest
no,
way,
fair.
the easiest way is to contrast it with better
Yeah,
and
of
I
worse
was
course.
gonna
things.
say, yeah, no, I think that's important in media criticism is to have other stuff to compare it to.
Hmm. Okay, I literally can't get off this, but Better Call Saul has been so fucking good. Like, and now it's just like week to week. I'm just like sitting here like bouncing my chair. I'm like, when's Monday? When's Monday? When's Monday? Next episode, next episode, next episode. It's so fucking good.
Monday.
I can't like get it out of
How
my head.
Mondays are the worst day, though.
how many more episodes does it have in this season?
5 episodes left until the end of the series.
Oh, I see. So it's
Yeah, it's
getting
it's in the
pretty
home stretch
close.
now.
Yeah.
Anywho, I won't keep bringing that up. It's
Yeah.
driving me. I'm so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Oh god, you've
Yeah.
seen Breaking Bad all the way through,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
and
was watching that as it was airing actually.
okay,
The
right on,
last
right on.
season of Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Then it was like,
Anyway,
this show sucks. I'm not gonna watch the prequel series.
No, I liked it a lot.
I'm just
It was
kidding.
well,
very
Better Call Saul's a lot more. It's a lot slower paced than Breaking Bad. It's way more methodical, and then but it always pays off. Like every season, they're setting up these dominoes and setting up these characters very, very slowly. And so some people are like, "Oh, the pacing is too slow." But at the end, like it's usually the second to last or the last episode of the season, sometimes in the middle of the season, they suddenly just knock the dominoes over that they've been setting up, and it's like the camera kind of pans back, and you're like, "Oh shit!" Like not literally, but like the camera pans back like metaphorically, and you're like, "Oh fuck, that's what they were setting up." Like that's brilliant.
Oh,
Like
I see.
it's worth the wait. But anywho,
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
hamburgers.
I understand.
oh hamburgers,
Um
fellas. I really thought
yeah,
Boys season 3 was gonna be good.
yeah.
Did you though?
I
I
don't know
look,
why.
I didn't no to start off.
But,
I didn't. I was hate watching it like you guys were. But then after a couple episodes, I was like, "Oh, this is actually way better than I thought." Now I do think it's gonna be good. And then we got
yeah.
to the end, and I was like, "Okay, it ended up
Uh,
being bad. I was right."
I
yeah,
remember.
that was my path as
I
well.
I remember when season 2 or episode 2 came out, and Roxanne, you're like, "Oh, I thought this was going to be good, but no, this is actually just woke trash."
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I had a moment where yeah, because I watched the first 3 episodes before you guys did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I did have a moment where I was like, dude, this is so fucking annoying. There was yeah,
Are you referring
yeah.
to
In those
Wokeland or whatever?
Yeah, when they
I
go to
love
like woke land, and at first I was like, oh, they're ripping on both sides, and then I realized afterwards, like they weren't ripping on both sides. It was like from an extreme leftist perspective, ripping on what they call rainbow capitalism. So it wasn't even ripping on wokeism. It was a bunch of wokies ripping on capitalism. So I misread the scene, and then when I realized that, I was like, no, that actually is completely stupid.
I mean, all right. Here's
And
the
obviously
thing.
my own political
Woke,
bias come into play there. But
woke capitalism is really stupid, though. This is
no,
not
it
from
is.
an
It is.
extreme leftist perspective.
No,
Like,
I'm not gonna pretend
it
it's
is
not stupid.
really dumb.
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna say like
yeah,
I misread that scene when I first saw it. I'm like, oh, they're ripping on wokeism, and then I was like, oh no, they're not ripping on wokeism. They are wokies. Like Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Jesus
Well, yeah. I
Christ
But
mean,
Superstar.
it's clear that the writers have a leftist bent.
It's insane.
You know,
The amount of
yeah.
the amount of dudes that want to get in the boys is absurd.
Oh, it is truly a very high number.
okay, maybe we should tally this up, because I'm guessing you guys have
I
already
was not
talked about this.
counting. I was not counting, because why would
I
I?
don't want to get your show canceled.
Well, no,
Only
well,
2
we already
episodes
said the
in.
thing.
uh,
Well, okay, well, who was there? There was.
Are we actually
Uh,
doing
no,
this? Are we
no,
gonna
no,
tally
no,
the
okay,
amount of
fine.
dildos that were on
Well,
screen?
I think that
you said there was
that's
a
the kind
lot.
of thing.
I was like, it
I
would be
think
funny to come up with a number.
there are a bunch of them, but like I think that you you would really want to like have that already prepared, because like you could go into your next episode and be like, in retrospect there were fewer people in the boys that wanted to get than I originally thought, or more. I don't know.
Well, it got
Um,
to the point where I was like, okay, what male character doesn't want to get fucked? And I was like, Butcher, Huey, MM,
yeah.
Homelander.
Homelander,
Uh,
Soldier Boy.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not a, you know what, uh,
maybe the
it's
Deep,
not a
if we're being charitable. Like, it's not a big deal. It was just kind of like,
well, it's just it's not as exaggerated as it might have been, it's it's
maybe.
there.
I mean,
It's there.
it's certainly there more than I was or expecting / preparing for.
Uh,
Again, to the point where I'm just like, how many like, because it would be like, oh, I want to have intercourse with this woman, and then the woman pulls out like a dildo strap on, and I'm just like,
Oh right, yeah, the guy who I guess is supposed to be Tucker Carlson.
yeah,
It's like,
oh,
ha ha
maybe
ha,
that
he
was
likes
it.
getting pegged.
And
oh yeah.
I'm just like, okay. Like, it's not like the
Yeah,
end of the world, but it just kind of was weird to me.
it's just such a typical leftist meme. It's like, haha, right wing pundit probably secretly gay.
Got him.
Yeah.
I got him.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks.
Got him. That's so funny.
How will Tucker Carlson ever recover?
Yeah, honestly.
How will they survive
whatever.
this? How will he survive
Oh
this?
man.
Do you think Tucker Carlson, the actual Tucker Carlson, knows about that and that they did that? He probably does, right?
I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
it got brought to his attention.
I could see it going either way.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder how much he pays attention to like just Hollywood garbage, because
Yeah,
like
true that.
it seems like in his situation you would not want to, because it's more and more
Well, I mean,
likely
he
that
probably
you're
just
just gonna
goes home and
see
fucks
stuff
his
that'll
wife.
irritate
So,
you.
I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
I imagine he has other things to do as well.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just mean like
I have more important things to do than watch The Boys, like my wife.
of course he's not watching The Boys.
No, yeah, of course he's not
Not
watching
the
it, but like
question.
I could see somebody on his staff or like some of the higher up people's on this show or at Fox being like, "Oh, they did do this on you." What I think would be hilarious is if Tucker Carlson did a segment on the fact that they did that on him. That would be hilarious.
What would he
It'd be
say though?
funny, but there's no way. It just wouldn't. There wouldn't be enough
He would just
content.
Yeah, it's like,
he would probably just make like his regular points. He'd just be like, "Oh yeah, so this is all that the left has. Apparently, I'm closeted gay. Yep, this is all that they have, folks."
It was like when Jordan Peterson was the Red Skull.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
And then he turned into
Yeah, got him.
I'll insert joke here about him becoming a Daily Wire pundit.
Oh yeah, I have a bone to pick with him, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, that's
yeah,
okay.
I mean,
we can talk about that later on, because I feel like we're all in agreement on that, where it's just like,
The Daily Wire thing made me raise an eyebrow and still is.
It's sus. It's
Yeah,
very
I don't
sus.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
sus too.
Yeah, not a fan.
And here's I actually already followed the Daily Wire, and it's like I don't know, like I don't hate the
It
Daily Wire,
feels
but I do
weird.
feel like it's a step down for Peterson. But I guess he's gonna access a larger audience this way, so that's what
I
he's
don't
angling
think he
for. I don't know.
is though. I don't think he
Yeah,
is. I think
yeah, I don't like it.
it feels like a weird rebranding of some sorts. Like
All right.
maybe not a literal
Yeah,
rebranding, but it does feel like it's like, oh, the attraction to Jordan Peterson was like he was above the kind of politicking kind of thing. Like it was all about
yeah. Like he just
Yeah,
said what was believed to be true, regardless of like side.
oh,
Whereas like Daily Wire is
yeah.
clearly very partisan, and
Hmm.
yeah.
And like the only reason that he talked to more right wingers than left wingers was just because more right wingers invited him onto their shows than left wingers. It wasn't because he was actively seeking them out.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I mean
so
that's
him becoming like a Daily Wire plus contributor
yeah.
uh, gives credence to like the left wingers that like actively hate him and just consider him to be a right
Yeah,
winger and
yeah.
stuff like that. And
Yeah. And
you
yeah, and
know.
it increases the likelihood of audience capture.
I
It's
don't.
just like
He's got over 1 million subscribers on his YouTube channel.
yeah.
I don't know if it does. Like, I don't know if it does
Oh,
increase
no,
likelihood.
it definitely does. If he's going to be part of a network, 100%, it
Yeah.
will make it more likely that yeah, because he's going to be talking to a specific type of person, more than he was before. Like especially in terms of um act like people who are religious, right? Like it's more likely that more of his audience will be religious than were before.
Well, but
So
like
that's
again, the appeal to Jordan Peterson was making those. Well, it was kind of like explaining religion using kind of atheistic language, so to speak, or not atheistic language,
sure.
but like making it, um, not necessarily, maybe not appeal, but such that like what I'm getting at, it's like he would explain to atheists like, no, there's more here than you realize, is what I'm getting at. And
Okay, yeah, because he was doing textual analysis
mhm.
rather than proselytizing.
Yes.
Um, but he'll have less reason to do that if he's talking to people who are mostly already religious.
Well,
Um,
but that's what I enjoyed about his like biblical series, for example, was like,
yeah,
oh, it wasn't him being like, the Lord saith,
no,
you know.
no, I get that.
That's what
What I'm
attracted
trying
me
to
to
say
that.
is right, and what I'm trying to say is that I think that he will become more like actively religious in his messaging if he's
Mhm.
speaking to the viewers of the Daily Wire who are more likely to be religious.
And
I mean, I guess it
Uh,
depends, like how much.
what I'm suggesting is that's a bad thing.
Well,
yeah, that's I don't think we're in disagreement there.
Okay,
yeah, I
okay,
think we
okay,
all
okay.
agree on that.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, like, the question to me is almost like, how much leash are they gonna give him at the Daily? Like, is he just gonna like carte blanche? He can just
Well,
talk about whatever he wants, or are
yeah.
they gonna like box him into like you can't talk about this, don't talk about that kind of thing?
I
Oh, they'll probably leave
I
him alone for
I
the most
don't.
part, but
Yeah, he's too big for them to like tell him what to do, right? It's just like they'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is kind of the direction that we're going," and he'll probably play towards that to some extent, and I don't like that idea.
mhm.
Um like I don't think
Yeah,
that they're gonna be like, "Oh, we want you to talk about this," and that he'll do it. I think it'll be more like they'll just be chatting and it'll be like, oh yeah, we're kind of all pushing in this direction, and he'll be like, like, you know. So I don't think it ends up well, no matter what, honestly.
imagine if Jordan Peterson started doing reviews of like TV shows, like Jordan Peterson reviewed like The Boys.
I mean
It, do- it doesn't
I
make
heard
any
him
bloody sense. You
I've heard
power up
him
Starlight
I've
because
heard
you only
him
knocked Soldier Boy over 6 feet.
yeah, I've heard him review Pinocchio, and that was good enough for me.
The Pinocchio review is god tier.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's up there.
super high tier stuff.
I mean,
All right.
Okay,
The
so we got to
boy.
get back to The Boys, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much longer you guys want to go, but there was one more thing I really wanted to
we
cover.
will go until we are exhausted.
All right. Well,
Well, I've been exhausted this whole time. I'm just drinking coffee.
I
Well,
see. I'm I'm just about out of Coke. So take that
Coca-Cola.
as you will. Coca-Cola. Yeah. All right, so
We are not sponsored, by the
we
way.
have we have
We should be sponsored by
hold on.
Coca-Cola.
We have what do we have? We have the dumb boy, the boy band guy.
Mm.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
we got the boy band guy. We got Stormfront.
Mm-hmm.
And we got little Nina and her Russian ties.
Oh, I forgot about Little Nina. That was the stupidest plot line.
None of these characters do anything important. None of them do
Nope.
anything. Tons of screen time. I mean, maybe not a ton of screen time on Stormfront because she was explicitly, like an like just like a cameo or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
she
But
gets one
it's
scene that
like
is really
she
awkward, and
she
yeah.
gets two scenes, and one of them is really awkward.
What is the second scene? I'm thinking the
This
scene where she jerks Homelander off.
I'm pretty sure she's in a scene in the first episode of the season and a scene in the second episode, unless I'm like completely misremembering.
I thought
And
No,
one
yeah,
of them,
I think she was in a second scene.
yeah, but she does absolutely nothing for the plot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
in those two scenes, the Soundwave is introduced and has like several scenes. Like he's quite important in the first 4 episodes in terms of like screen time, but he doesn't actually do anything at all.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, you
he
could have
never does
exactly.
anything.
It's like you could have taken that and you could have had him like
Yeah.
he's at like you could have had it like the whole season like, oh, is he actually a good guy or a bad guy? Is he gonna like sell out Starlight to like get in better with Homelander or whatever? And then he's gonna have a redemption thing at the end, right? But it's just like, oh no, Homelander just murks him. That yep.
Yeah, yeah,
And what's the point of
he's a
that? To show
good
Homelander's
guy.
a bad guy?
Well, I mean, I guess the way that they sort of went with the plot is like, oh, okay, maybe because Huey is insanely jealous for no particular reason. Um, there's something there and he actually wants to pursue it, and then it turns out actually he's just a pretty good guy and wouldn't have done that in the first place, and we like him, and then he gets killed by Homelander. It's like, oh, we're really mad at you now, Homelander. But it's like like, man, nobody watches the show because they want to root for Homelander. Like, that's not why we're here. Like,
I mean,
everyone is already pretty on board with the fact that he's a piece of shit.
I made a comment yesterday that I might just start rooting for Homelander because I'm just not impressed with the show. So
Yeah,
I might as well
sure,
watch it and just root
sucks.
for Homelander. Like
Yeah,
that's what I started doing towards the end of Game of Thrones. I was just, you know
yeah.
what? I like House
He's the
Bolton.
Night King.
I'm rooting for Ramsay Bolton, and people were like, "Why?" I'm like, "I have my reasons." Like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that didn't go very well for him.
All right.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
have
Wait.
to. Sorry, hold on.
Little Nina though.
Okay. Just before you say that, I just gotta throw
Yeah.
something in the oven real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Little Nina. I'll
Little
just.
Nina. Go on.
So I mean, not a likable character. Not even a good like. Okay, have you ever? Cause I'm gonna bring up like a wrestling term. Have you ever? I don't know how familiar you are with wrestling. Do you know the term X-Pac heat or like go home heat?
No. No,
Okay, so heat is
I don't know. I mean, I have an idea of what heat is. It's like, how much attraction you have from
yeah.
the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for like a heel, like heels are the bad guys, right? So like getting heat is like oh man, like we really hate him, right? And like that's a good kind of heat. Like they actually like really really hate the character, which means that he's doing a good job making you hate him, right? And then
Right.
there's a term for wrestlers who is just like, yo, I don't even want to see you on my screen. And then like they get booed, but not because they're bad guys. They just get booed because people just don't like them. It's like
Yeah.
you suck. Like you're
Yeah.
not even a good villain. You just suck, and that's
Yeah.
like called X-Pac heat because that's what
Okay.
X-Pac got. It's also called go home heat, and like, that's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel about the character Little Nina. It's just like X-Pac heat. It's like I don't like their characters
Yeah.
like Homelander, who's like just
Yeah.
absolutely vile, and Soldier Boy, who's pretty vile, right? And a whole ton of them, like the Deep and stuff, who it's like yeah, you hate these characters, but you enjoy hating the characters because, well, maybe not in the Deep's case, but because they're good villains, right? But in the
Yeah.
case of Little Nina, it's like you're not even a good villain. This is just a waste of screen time. Like I'm not invested in disliking you as a villain. I just want you off my damn screen. Like
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty accurate description of what she provides to the show.
yeah, like
eh,
she's like the X-Pac of of The Boys
Yeah.
season 3. Like,
She has like no defining like personality characteristics or anything like that. Like she's just basically like mob middle management or something. Like it doesn't she's got nothing going for her. But then when you step back and think about it, it's like why does she think that, if she's this like very sort of well put together and conscientious like mob lady, right? Why does she think that she can kidnap a girl that, so far as she should be aware, has super strength, and this guy that she wants to work for her, and then like torture people in front of him, and this will never come back on her when seemingly she has a bunch of dudes with guns, and there are people that can like literally shoot lasers from their eyes and fly and teleport and stuff. It's like these guys are connected. If you just like say, you know what, I'm done with you, Frenchie, we're gonna fuck up these people that you're really closely connected to and maybe kill you or whatever, and then I'll have my revenge that is kind of irrelevant. uh it's gonna come back on you, like guaranteed, and she needs to know that. There's no way she doesn't know that at this point.
yeah, I mean, yeah. I said the thing before about how I can excuse a lot of dumb writing because I'm just like, oh, well, the character's dumb. This one exceeds it. I can't excuse that just because the characters. Yeah, you're right. There's no way in that world that the character wouldn't know that they are connected with, superhero. Like, she would 100% know that.
Yeah, she's like a foil for Butcher, right? Like the way that she's introduced is like, oh, this lady is really competent, and that's why she can continue to operate in this environment. Because being a mob boss is even more hazardous in this universe than it is in our own universe. Like that's a tough job because there's just people who could warp inside your room and shoot you in half and then warp away, and nobody would ever know. Like it's
Yeah,
like you really need to like be good at politicking and be like several steps ahead of everybody else all the time. And it's like, and then she goes and just does this really dumb thing for petty reasons, and it just, the whole subplot makes no sense. And like more than that, like I was saying earlier, is like, man, every time I saw Frenchie or Kimiko come up in a scene, I wanted to fast forward in like the middle 3 episodes. I was just like, I do not care what's happening to these guys right now. It's so uninteresting.
yeah, yeah. I kind of felt the same way. And I mean, I like them both as characters, but it's like, how much are you gonna like milk this, like their like budding romance? You've been doing this for 3 seasons at this point.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's like I don't have a problem. Like I think both of those characters are cool and have been in cool subplots and stuff like that. It's just like I don't like nothing happened in like any of those scenes. So little actually transpired. They're just like doing sign language and stuff, and it's like, and then we go back to the stuff that's actually happening in this episode, and then they get kidnapped for no reason, and that's the entire subplot, and it just drags on, and it was so fucking frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's a question. I don't remember. Did they kill little Nina or no?
No, she escapes.
She escaped. So there is the
Yeah.
potential that they're gonna bring that character back, basically.
Yeah, I
Ugh.
hope they don't. But it's like, I guess she's like sort of unquantifiably sinister or whatever, and
Unquantifiably
she,
sinister.
yeah, she's just gonna show up, and you don't know which side she's on, and she's always looking to do bad things to Frenchie or whatever. It's like, I don't know. I don't like, she doesn't pop, right? And it's not, I don't care what happens to her, and if they reintroduce her, they'd really have to do something interesting with her to make me like care.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They didn't do a good job setting her up as a compelling character either way. And like, my brain's not at max today. I'm really tired, but yeah, like the best thing I can think of is like, it's like X-Pac heat. It's like with Homelander. Okay, like we're invested in him being bad. With little Nina, it's like we just don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just in that situation where they're trying to build up to her killing either Kimiko or that other chick that Frenchie cares about from the
Oh,
previous
his
season. It's like we haven't even seen in forever or whatever.
she was in like season 1 in like one scene or something.
Yeah. She hasn't been around for a bit. I think she was in season 2 as well. I can't remember specifically though. But yeah, so she's gonna kill one of the two, and she's like, "Which one do you care about more?" And it's like, all right, yeah, this is sort of a classic evil move, but at the same time, like, who are you? It's just
Yeah.
like, like, what are the chances that you get this story beat? Pretty low, I think. And then Kimiko, of course, breaks out of her fucking bonds and kills everyone. It's like she's not even super powered at the time. She just does it on pure gumption.
Yeah, that makes it even worse, to be honest, because
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like you're a mob boss in a world of superheroes. So like you were saying, you would need to be 2 steps ahead all the time, and just a regular person who was tied up manages to fuck over all your goons and like escape. So we're supposed to believe
Yeah.
that she's a competent mob boss. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that and her getting like immediately back on the V is just like it's such a wasted opportunity for that story arc to be meaningful at all. Like she's just like the whole they were just trying to figure out what they could do with those two characters for like 3 episodes while everything else kind of gets to the point that it needs to be for the last act of the series or the season. And then like basically she loses her powers and she just needs to kind of like dick around without her powers for a little bit in ways that are irrelevant for a few episodes until she just gets handed them back, and nobody even thinks about what this means. Like when it happens, she's like, "Starlight, please get me Compound V," and she's like, "All right," and it's like,
Starlight, please walk through the
"Please,
revolving door at Vought Tower.
yeah,
Just go take
go,
V out of the
yeah,
fridge. Like, don't be
go into
stealthy at all about
the murder factory."
it. Honestly, just
to
stroll
get
into this
to
murder
get
factory and just like
to
rob
get
them.
to get this to where the guy who will kill you on sight is, who can see and hear extremely far and accurately. And it's like you're gonna go
And
in
has
there and
X-ray
get
vision.
this thing. Yeah, and maybe when you give it to me, I will get my powers back. Also, I might congeal into a gooey mass. We don't know. It's never been tried on anyone. But this is how it's gotta play out. It's like,
Yeah, there were so many. And okay, so one of the
oh,
directions I thought it might go is after she gets to the V, like in the shot after Frenchie shoots her up with the new V, you see a vial,
yeah.
like the vial they used, they didn't use all of it. And I thought I was like you could have done anything more with that. It's like, okay, you have a vial of like half V there. I thought like they were gonna do something where Frenchie was gonna take it or something like that.
You have
And
a
then he's like,
vial.
yeah,
Well,
now we're
I
both the
think you're
same.
vile.
Well,
Mm.
that's not the first time I've been called vile. I'm doing my best though. But no, like there was a scene there where like, after Frenchie shoots her up with the V, like there's a shot where I don't know if it lingers on it, but you can definitely see they didn't use all of the V. They could have done anything with that that would have been better than what they did. It's like you still
I bet
have half a vial of like regular V you could have used. But nope.
I bet if Frenchie does V24, he gets prehensile dick.
It'll be something stupid like that, for sure.
His hair won't stop growing.
They won't write it such that there are two Homelanders in the boys.
No, he just walks around with an afro at all times.
My hair's
Like,
growing back.
is my
Oh, sacre
power?
bleu.
Is my power? I just can grow the hair from wherever.
I can grow hair anywhere. Ho
Oh, there's
ho.
okay, I don't know. What did you think of Little Nina? I don't know how much you heard of what we were talking about.
I was basically absent the whole time. I had to throw something in the oven because I forgot to make dinner, and it's already 8:30.
Well, we
So
both love Little Nina. and hope that she returns in season 4.
Yeah,
I really hope they bring that character back.
I love how much she serviced the grander narrative of the story.
She was very relevant, and her decision making was on point.
Yes. I I I you could have edited her out. Nothing fucking changes.
You could take all
Yeah,
of that
well, I
out.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah. It's like, yeah, I mean, they could have just gone to AOC and been like, "How can we get into Russia?" And she's like, "Give me some blackmail, and I will give you
Some
away to Russia." But like,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
literally the only reason for her to be in the plot is so that they have an in into Russia, and then when they go there, that's where Soldier Boy is being
well, and then she can
like
be like,
held.
she'd be like, I am
Yeah.
remember Frenchman when you were my bitch.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, exactly.
and
Yeah.
See,
it's
here's
like,
they
bad.
could have done it better where it made sense and was more compelling. All you had to do was introduce the character
well, here's the
more
problem, right?
slowly and set her up in a way where we
Yeah.
actually were invested either way and gave a shit.
Well-
But they didn't.
Well,
It's just
I
like, oh,
mean,
here's
yeah,
hold on.
Russian
You
mob
still-
lady
Hold on.
who's totally irrelevant.
But you still run into the problem of how is the mob or any mob able to function in in a world where the like superheroes are literally on an assembly line.
right.
You
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, we were talking about that.
where this character exactly where this character would have to be like extremely competent, right? Like she would have to be. So it's like if you have a couple small scenes with her as like a background character, and then like every time she shows up, some really awful shit happens, and then it's like, oh, okay, this is someone not to cross. And if you go after her, there's probably like many layers of awful things that are gonna
Fuck.
happen as a result of going
Like
after her.
you could have it written such that maybe there's uh uh I'm just spitballing ideas at this point here. But like what happens if you were to just microdose compound V? You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm gonna guess you
Your
wouldn't
hands
get
would
any.
get really big.
You get
No.
prehensile
But
dick.
Oh
here's
man, my hands are so big.
can slap so
So
hard
like
now.
literally they would just be enormous.
But I'm thinking like um what if you had an underground market or like the mafia was able to still function because they were like maybe microdosing on compound V, and it was just enough to where they were like their sentence oh my god, their senses were heightened as opposed to actually giving them powers.
Yeah.
I mean that would be decent.
And
That'd be better.
yeah.
There's definitely things you could do with it. They won't, but you could.
No.
I don't know for sure that doing that makes the show better in any like real way, but you could explore it.
I'm just changing the topic for a quick second. I'm just popping
No,
through
not
YouTube.
allowed.
Jordan Peterson released a video 3 hours ago called "Butchers and Liars Reprise." That's 18 minutes long. I'm
Oh,
guessing
yeah.
it's a follow up. Do you guys saw his video about?
Oh yeah. It's gonna be about doctors and
And Elliot Page, whatever. Yeah,
It
yeah, you just got banned. You got your whole channel banned. You're gonna have to bleep that out.
Blip.
About what?
Unnamed
Yeah, that's
person of
fine.
unknown
Yeah.
origin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't dead name people.
Also,
That is
this not to tangent too much again, still, but
Yeah.
like a lot of Jordan Peterson's videos in the past couple weeks feel like it looks like he's reading off a teleprompter, like
Yeah.
straight
Well,
up.
he's actually said explicitly in some of them that he wrote it down first, and he doesn't usually do that, but he's gonna read from so that he can say exactly what he means to say rather than something more off the cuff. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like he's more, at least up until recently, he's always been more careful on the cuff. So I don't really take issue with him doing that. But it just, there's nothing inherently wrong with him reading off a teleprompter. I'm just saying, um, like I can just tell that he's reading off something.
Yeah.
Just the way his cadence or whatever the word I'm looking for is
Yeah,
like
no,
it's
it
just
is.
different. It's just different.
Oh no, it's obvious when he's reading.
Mhm.
compared to when he's just talking about something, because his pauses are completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
I,
Oh, wait,
I
wait,
didn't
wait,
mean to
wait, wait,
sidetrack
wait.
it too much. What were the other characters you wrote down you wanted to talk about?
The only character that was left was Marvin,
Mm.
and I only had like one thing to say about Marvin, because I thought Marvin was my favorite character this season. I think.
Yeah, he's definitely the best written
Overall.
character at the very least.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
He his
Most consistent.
subplot basically makes sense, except the guy that his wife is dating. Or
Okay,
whatever.
that's the guy I wanted to bring up because
Terrible fucking
Todd.
character.
Like,
Yeah.
what did you guys think about the character Todd? That
I
was
hate that character. He's so dumb.
It's
He's
just
like a
Like his
caricature. Like
yeah.
he's not a character.
Yeah,
yeah,
he is.
it's such a
He's literally
caricature of
just
how like
a character.
progressives see like I don't know anybody who supported Trump basically. It's like okay,
It's not even that. It's
Yeah,
not even
yeah.
that. Like it's like I wouldn't even go that extreme with it. It's just people who are normies that might have some right-leaning opinions. That's kind of is like the way that's like the vibe I got from him in the first couple season or episodes that he's in or whatever. Like he's just like a normal guy. Like, he wants to host like a good party for his stepdaughter and stuff like that and all and like based on what we've seen, he's like a good guy, you know, even if he's like,
I
misguided or whatever. But then in that last episode with the fucking uh when the protester gets head gets blown up and he's the one that leads the cheering and it's just like, oh, okay.
yeah. It's never really established that he would be like that bloodthirsty.
Right.
But I think the idea that I got. I mean, I didn't like him even before that, and the idea that I got was that he was just like there's this idea in like left leaning media or whatever that people who are like some it shows up on like the Young Turks a lot. Like Cenk never stops talking about this. That people who are right wing and
Are
like
garbage.
I mean, yeah, that
And
that's
they're
what
better
Anna
than them.
never
and
stopped
worse
talking
people
about.
than Anna. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she never stops talking.
Anna
Cenk
is better than them.
Cenk is
So,
always
yeah.
Cenk is always talking about how people on the right wing, when they like leaders that are strong, it's because they themselves are weak. Um,
What?
yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah, I think I've heard Jink say that.
Right.
Is
Oh,
that is that
we
Of
want a really
course.
strong leader.
okay?
Of
I mean,
course. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it's like all right because it's not it's because obviously it's mutually exclusive. Yeah,
Yeah. Because
totally.
we can't protect ourselves. We need a big man to take care. It's like, yeah. It's like,
That's why they all want guns. Yeah, okay.
yeah, exactly. Like he's always like, oh yeah, people on the right wing are pussies because this and this and this. And it's like it's not really an uncommon thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's like a subsect of people that vote right wing because they want there to be a superhero basically to take care of them, which seems like a little bit of projection to me, but um, but it's whatever. It's just the character is just not like he's just not a good character. He doesn't do what he's supposed to do in the script very well, I don't think.
He's just kind
Um,
of there,
it's
which
I
like
mean it's not like how did Marvin's ex end up with this guy? Like
well, yeah.
it's so strange. The guy has like no redeemable qualities really. He's just kind of like
I wouldn't go that far. At least
it does.
I mean, he has glasses.
I mean like
That's true.
early on.
That's
Yeah.
a redeeming
Like
quality, right?
the first like couple scenes with him in them, I got the impression that he's just like generic dad that is kind of ignorant of the wider conflict, and it's like okay,
Yeah. Well, I
kind of
mean,
like
where
the
that's the
father
case.
in Stranger Things. Will's dad in
Yeah.
Stranger Things. He's just kind of there, and he's in like 3 scenes per season, and he makes
Yeah.
a comment about how like man, the world's going crazy, and like that's it. Um,
I haven't seen Stranger Things, but
Yeah.
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
that's literally his
I've
like
seen it.
he has no plot function whatsoever, and that's
Yeah.
basically what I thought this character was going to be in The Boys. But then it's
Well,
like,
no, he's I think very distinctly meant to be like a YouTuber. Like he's supposed to be like a like an alt tech sort of guy.
Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe
Yeah, like the way that he talks, right? Like when he's
Mm.
just like, "Oh, the establishment media is
Oh,
lying
all
to
right. So
me."
yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
cause that's established like later on in the season,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then it's kind of like, the red flags were showing up, you know,
yeah, yeah.
and then in that final scene with the protester, that was like the nail in the coffin for me. I'm like, okay, this is such a waste of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the establishment media is lying to you.
I mean,
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
I feel like their biggest sins are omitting the truth, but yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, I consider omitting the truth a kind of lying. So
Yes, I agree.
yeah,
There's a
so
fun
it's
topic. Like now we're getting into the philosophy of like the truth and lies.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
we
agree.
can.
It's gray. I think omitting the truth is gray, but it's not necessarily the same thing as a fabrication.
Because when
But
I think of the
Yeah.
boys, I think of admitting the truth.
Um. Yeah. No, I think it was just pretty explicitly lying in the boys, but that's the people in the like. Certainly,
No,
the
I
people
know.
who write the boys think that the average American is very stupid, or at least that is how they portray them in their show.
yeah, that's
Uh,
what shines through really
Yeah.
clear to me too. Is that
stupid.
they
Stupid would be like, well, sorry, no, gullible would be the charitable interpretation from their
Sure.
perspective, I would say.
Um, yeah, but I mean, like they keep having more and more things happen that it is like I guess we only see what the camera sees, right? So
Mhm.
it's harder to like take those ideas apart, but these things happen that even outside of what we know as the audience should be quite obvious to the public at large, and they still don't notice just because there's like a TV show with a Tucker Carlson stand-in being like, "Oh, tell me about your new book," like,
Mm,
so
yeah.
um, it's it seems like their characterization of the average American is an idiot, um, which
Yes.
is
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is fine. Like I don't necessarily think that you can't do that in a TV show. Certainly one that likes to tear down those sorts of ideas, right? Like,
Well,
but
it's it's um it's like just uber cynical, if that makes sense.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's not like that. That's a problem in terms of the show's character, I guess. But it does
No, but
create
well,
more
it's
potential plot issues.
right. It's
Yeah,
not a problem in of itself. Like
yeah,
initially, the problem is, yeah, like it can create plot issues.
yeah,
Um, and also if it's cynical in one like political direction, you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
what
of
I'm
course.
getting
I
at.
mean, of
Um,
course, that sort of thing is like I said before, it's like I can find it mildly annoying. But if it makes the show suck, then
mhm,
it's actually actively
yeah.
bad.
Like as far
Um,
as the cynicism, um, like I there's that the season one ends with Starlight being like, no, I'm actually going to do the right thing even if it hurts me. And then we
yeah,
get that scene between A-Train and her where they actually fight off with each other to
yeah,
and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, okay, so there actually are like good people in this world.
yeah.
Um,
Maeve as well.
mm,
There are good women. All right, there are good women.
girls get it done. That is true.
And then some women are Nazis.
But
Uh,
only the white women. Only the white
yeah,
women.
yeah.
Uh,
Say what you will about the entire plot surrounding Stormfront, and it was terrible. But Stormfront as a character was pretty great.
yeah,
I'm
Stormfront was a good
yeah,
like okay,
yeah.
so there's an
I'm
example
glad.
of another character
Yeah,
I
to
just
contrast to
I
like Little
remember.
Nina. It's like Stormfront, like you're invested in hating this, you're invested in
oh,
wanting to see
absolutely.
this character's downfall. Whereas with
So
Little Nina, it's just like leave, just
so
go, just
I
walk
I
off the set and go away.
watched. I remember watching the EFAP stream of season two where they're
Mm.
like, why did they make the Nazi the one that cares about good writing?
Yeah,
and
yeah, right.
and like that's basically like my
Yeah,
thoughts on Stormfront as a character in like one sentence.
that's funny.
I'm just like, yeah, I want to hate her, but she cares about good writing though. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
When did
uh,
Stormfront care about good writing? Like I probably blacked out most of season
it's
2.
like the second scene that she's in where she talks about the plot holes in a fictional movie that, like, in a fictional script that they get. And she's
Oh,
like,
okay.
this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, why do we have to do this? Girls get a done message. That's so silly. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, why do we have to do that? And then it's like, oh, it's the Nazis saying these things. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, but she's kind of right, though.
Well, I mean, she comes off as like a disillusioned feminist in the first like 2 episodes or
Right.
whatever, like
Before
before
like the
she
reveal.
yeah,
Yeah.
does the big reveal. Yeah, and it's like that I thought that was great. It's like that's such a funny way to introduce her.
Well, like I said, my reaction is basically just, but why did they make the Nazi the one that cares about good writing? That's
Yeah,
kind of like what my default,
well,
like.
because they're trying to get you to root for her, right? Like they want like in the first couple of episodes they want you to be like, "Oh yeah, this character is going to like provide a fucking like someone that will stand up to Homelander," right? Like she clearly gives no fucks about the like political structure of this organization. And is in many ways just smarter than the people that are already in charge of it. So, you know, this is gonna matter. And you want like in that introduction it's like, oh yeah, she's kind of a badass, and then she turns out to be a Nazi, and it's like that's really funny. That's a great plot twist. The rest of that season was awful, but you know.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement on that one. Did we miss anything about season 3 of the Boys?
I didn't I did the one thing I was
Oh,
gonna say, I
Marvin?
was just gonna say, yeah, Marvin. I was so mad when he just in like the Herogasm episode when he just went and tried to get himself killed by Soldier Boy. I was so mad
And
because I had been invested at that point. I was like, all right, at least Marvin has not been tarnished at all. Marvin is still a good character. Everyone else, they've had their moments, but Marvin, they know how to write this character, right? He sticks to the things that we've, you know, been told that he cares about, right? And then he's like he's a smart guy. He generally keeps his cool, kind of thing. It's like the fact that he punches the guy later on. It's I can forgive that because I think that was like a reasonable character moment for him to lose his cool.
and he
But it's like,
also,
all right,
like, they
he
acknowledge it, and it's like,
yeah,
yeah, okay,
of
yeah.
course, yeah. Like that's fine, right? But it's like he hates Soldier Boy. He's trying to take him down. He knows he literally cannot do anything to him. He's like, I'm gonna go shoot him with my gun. It's like, no, you fucking aren't. That's not what you do. You find another way to do this because you know you cannot do it with your fucking gun. Like, you know you're gonna shoot the guy. He'll look at you and be like, what the fuck? And then he'll punch your head off. Like, it's
Well, like,
so dumb.
it's worse than that, because then it happens again in the last episode.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of shooting ineffectually at him, which is just like, all right, I don't like this, but there are so many other bad things going on in this scene right now that it's like, all right, whatever. They couldn't figure out what to do with him in that scene, and it's because the scene was so fucking busy already that there's like 90% of the people there are irrelevant, like to the conclusion of that scene.
Oh
It's
shit.
it's so dumb, but yeah, that didn't upset me as much.
They just dropped a new South Park streaming thing.
Oh.
Streaming thing?
Hell yeah. Well, you know how they have their deal to make like X movies a year now?
Oh, there's a new special or whatever?
Yeah, they just dropped another special apparently.
Nice.
Snap, that's awesome. Anyway, sorry.
I mean that was it. I think that was like literally everything that I had to talk about the boys. I don't
Yeah, Homelander, Butcher,
the rest of the 7.
the rest of the 7. Well, there's only like
Okay,
4
so
of
let's
them
talk
now,
about.
but
We kind of talked about it a bit, but the one thing I do want to say that I thought was really good until they screwed it up in the finale was the Black Noir like backstory, and then the whole Happy Tree Friends thing. That was awesome. Like
Yeah.
it was awesome
Yeah,
until it wasn't.
like that's what I was saying.
It was
Well, that's
awesome
what I was
until they
saying
just like
before.
unceremoniously kill him off. It's like, really, like
is episode 7 was my favorite one, and I think probably the best one, but I'm not 100%. Like, I'd have to go back and rewatch everything. Um,
Episode 7.
but yeah, it was like the whole Black Noir thing where it's like, okay, we get all of this backstory, but it's in an interesting way that like explains a whole bunch of stuff about this character that we've had for 3 seasons that we didn't know anything about really. And it's like, oh yeah, that's all really cool. And then yeah, in the last episode, it he's just killed for no reason. That's very, very strange
Yeah,
that they would make that decision.
it was
Um,
disappointing.
and just purely because they want to put someone else in the suit, and it's like just
Are you sure that that's
fine.
what they're gonna do?
Yeah,
You can
I mean,
get
it
away
makes
with that
sense.
with his character though, so it
yeah.
kind of makes sense in that sense, or like
I,
Yeah,
I,
that makes sense.
I am certain that they will do that.
I just
Um,
wanted to say the
what a-
sequence of one of my favorite sequences in the entire season was the flashback as to how like Soldier Boy actually got kidnapped, but enacted by the Happy Tree Friends cartoons.
Right. Yeah.
That was like
Loved it.
mint. Like if the rest of
I-
the season was on that level, it would have been excellent. Like that was 10 out
for
of 10
sure,
for me.
for sure. That was really good. Man, the like Huey decking A Train, that was excellent. The obviously the like the V24 stuff that led up to it was I had my problems with that we've discussed already, but like that scene, the whole emotional payoff of that scene was completely earned. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and it really does put a period on A Train's sort of subplot for that season.
Yeah, I guess. Did we want to talk a bit about how the season wraps up and kind of we've talked a bit
Where
about the
we are.
implications of season 4 based on like, well, the protester blow up scene. But I'm thinking like Starlight just being like, oh, I don't need Vought anymore to. They don't have power over me or whatever the line is. What is the line that she gives?
I don't remember.
But I remember Dean, like your reaction was basically just like they literally gave you your powers though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't get power from them or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
like, yes, you do. That's explicitly how you got power. Like, you got all of your political power and your literal powers from this company. Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
she throws away the Starlight persona, which she
Yeah.
says, I don't need it. I don't, this suit never gave me any power. Which is like, I guess technically true.
Oh
And
right, she threw a suit in the
Vought
garbage.
sure as shit didn't. Ha
Vought
ha!
sure as shit didn't. Yeah. No, Vought definitely did.
But it's like,
I'm you know that whole thing how your eyes glow when you control electricity? Like yeah, I'm pretty sure that's been established a million
That
times
came
over that
from
Vought
Vought.
gave you that. Yeah.
but, but even just like, she now has no leverage within the Vought system itself. Like, so her decision to leave Vought just makes it harder for the boys to finish their goal. Like, does it not? Like, why?
I don't even know what their goal is. What is their goal? To
Well,
kill Homelander or
that's
to
part
take
of the
down all of
problem
Vought?
too, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the problem too.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I guess at this point those are basically the same.
well, I thought they
So-
were the same at season 1, but that was kind like I thought that it was going to be like 4 or 5 seasons of,
I don't know
build
if
up
that's
to like the confrontation that ultimately destroys the company in Homelander. But now it seems to be like there's a villain of the season. We've had
Yeah.
Stormfront, Soldier Boy, and I think AOC is supposed to be season 4.
Yeah.
With kind of Vought and Homelander doing shady shenanigans in the background that occasionally show up to act as a foil. Which
Yeah, I mean, except the real villain of this season was just Homelander again, and he's he's just going around fucking shit up wherever he wants. Like,
I think
yeah,
I'm cutting out. Who did you say the real villain was?
It's just Homelander again. It's like Soldier Boy is like, man, he's basically like just they introduce him into the plot, right? And he doesn't even show up until halfway through the season.
Right.
And then most of the time he just kind of wanders around in a daze. And the people that he's killing are like outside of the time where he sort of accidentally explodes. Uh, in the actual episodes when he's killing people, the people that he's killing are all like like basically conspiracists that put him away and are all bad in their own right. And it's not like Soldier Boy is definitely villainous, don't get me wrong. He's just he's not really like he doesn't really establish himself as the big bad of the season. So all we're really left with is Homelander. Like
Well, I
at
think.
the very end of the
Mhm.
season, it's like, oh, we need to have this big confrontation with Soldier
Right.
Boy, and it's
Right.
like, all right, has he
That
really earned this though?
right. That's what I mean. I'm thinking according to what the writers want. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Um, you know, so like according to the showrunners, the big bad of season 2 was Stormfront. The big bad of season 3 is um, Soldier Boy, and then
mm,
it looks like they're setting up because I initially thought the big bad of season 3 was going to be AOC, based on how
right.
season 2 ended and based on how
Yeah, yeah.
season 3 began. Like she literally like shotguns a guy multiple times and explodes him in the most gruesome way possible to the point where
And he
I
was
don't
her
even
friend from
know.
back in the day.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But like he kills, sorry, she kills him so graphically to the point where I don't know how they cleaned it up. And she just casually
Yeah.
like calls them like, yeah, I need to clean up on aisle 12, and it's like, how the fuck do you expect them to clean up this mess? Like, like,
Well, they're Vaughn.
yeah,
They're just like a multinational, extremely rich corporation. They send in a bunch of guys in suits with
uh,
pressure washers or whatever. Like it's or they just have a guy whose power is cleanliness. Like who
it's
fucking
true.
knows? But it's not outside the realm of believability
You
within the
know,
rules of the show.
that's
Right.
like that's just like a minor thing. But yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
thought she was going to be like the big bad, and then she wasn't. And then it seems like based on how season 3 ended, that they wanted the big bad to be uh, Soldier Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. They wanted him to be, but then like he just wasn't very good at being villainous, I guess. I don't
I
know.
know when I
Like
find
he just
myself like, you know what, just let him go on his rampage. It seems like he's going to be done. Like when he's done killing all of his folks, he's going to be just like retirement mode. Like there's
yeah, it seems like all he wants to do is fight and fuck, right? And like once he's done killing the like five people that he wants to kill or whatever, who who are all like, you know,
shady people, yeah.
guilty of something, right? Like um,
Well, they're all
he's
guilty of
probably
trying to
just gonna
kill
go
him. They're all guilty of
fuck
attempted
for a
murder.
while. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So it's like,
Are we
I don't know.
supposed? Were we
I don't know.
supposed to dislike Payback? Because in the Black Noir flashback scene and like some of the flashback scenes that were like the cartoon scenes, you kind of find out that like maybe they were justified in doing what they did to Soldier Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
yeah. He
wasn't
was
sure
a
if we were
bad
supposed to want
person.
Soldier Boy to be killing them
No.
or not. Like
No, I don't think we were supposed to want Soldier Boy killing them. I think we were supposed to sort of slowly figure out as it went on that they were all just like deeply flawed individuals who weren't like evil or anything like that and probably deserve to just live out their lives, but he's just going to show up and murder them all anyway. Um but also it's like is a personal quest for revenge really like big bad material or whatever, especially when it doesn't involve any of the main characters.
Right, right. No, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree in terms of like how it actually pans out. I'm just I make that claim based on kind of what I think the writers are trying to go for.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. That it seemed like they're trying to do like a villain of the season kind of thing, but it got jumbled up this season, and it's like, well, who was the villain? Was it Soldier Boy or was it Homelander?
Yeah.
Or is it
And
supposed to be Butcher at this
well,
point? I don't know.
you know, in that sense, I kind of feel like the show's lost the plot a little bit. Um,
Oh, for sure.
like especially if you consider that the show, like the premise of the show is Homelander versus Butcher. It's like having
Yeah.
all of these kind of villain of the seasons feel just like gigantic detours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that because
Kind
they're
of,
not weaving it
sort
back
of.
into that main thing. If they
They
had it affect the main thing of Butcher and Homelander, sure, but it feels like it's not.
they have to do something, right? It's like you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
just have
No,
Homelander get
I
killed.
understand that, and I'm not
Yeah.
like I'm not trying to like poo-poo the idea of introducing new characters just inherently, um,
Yeah.
or even like new bad guy type characters. Um,
Yeah.
but it does feel um, like they are given more focus over the kind of grander narrative of what's happening, if that makes sense. Um,
Um I I guess. I mean, they both kind of
well, like I said, like it feels like the show's lost the plot, I guess is kind of what I'm getting at.
yeah, I mean that might just be the case incidentally anyway.
Right.
I'm just trying to say that like the fact that the big bad of season 2 is Homelander's girlfriend and the big bad of season 3 is Homelander's dad, uh I don't think necessarily makes it impossible for like harder is like for them to stay on like a tight plot. Like
Mhm.
it's just something that
Yeah, I think
they
it's
they need to have those characters because they're not just gonna have Butcher fight Homelander over and over again and have no one die, right?
right,
Like,
right. I think it's a combination of introducing those characters and having Homelander just choose not to kill Butcher multiple times when he can easily do so.
yeah, there are all sorts of other problems for sure, and it's like I think that the idea that AOC might get into the White House, and she's clearly this show clearly wants us to think that she's really intelligent, because she's always just delivering information she shouldn't really be able to get or whatever. Um,
Because she learns things off screen.
yeah, she's very well connected. Um, but yeah, so it's like she's quite powerful in her own right in terms of like actual combat ability, and then also is way smarter than Homelander. And presumably we're gonna have him run Vought into the ground more or less. Um, because there's basically everything has been laid for that to happen. Um,
So
so the interaction between those two in terms of like sort of their political standing is gonna be an interesting ground to have those sorts of the sorts of battles that the main cast find themselves like in the middle of.
Hmm.
um I don't have a lot of hope for how they will deal with it, but I'll probably watch it. Like, it wasn't so like it certainly if it was worse than season 2, I'd be like, I'm done with this show.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, at this point it's like, okay, yeah, next season could easily be a good season. Like if they just swapped out all the writers with whoever did episode 7, um, they they could probably put together like a solid season for 4, like, and
Hmm.
then it'd be at the point where it's like, oh yeah, there were a lot of dumb points in season 2 and 3 where the characters did things that didn't make any sense and the show will never truly recover, but the episodes, like the season in its own context, was fine. Like it was
Hmm.
a solid 7 out of 10 or whatever. Like that's still achievable for the show at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm certainly not going into season 4 being like, I'm going to hate watch this. Um,
Yeah,
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 same.
exactly.
I'm
Like
I'm
Uh,
I'll see how it goes.
I'm going into season 4 with like highly skeptical
Cautious
optimism.
optimism, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
is
Cautious
what I
optimism.
call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So I was gonna ask, do you guys think we're gonna see Giancarlo Esposito as Stan Edgar again?
Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
He's not dead, and he's not had a
Trial
like
and
a
stuff, yeah.
no. I mean, he's not had a like a scene for him to exit the show on, right? It's like you you don't put that guy as that character just to like sort of shuffle him off, right? Like unless he gets into
Yeah.
a contract dispute or something like that, I think we'll see him again. Um, it's like you know the way that
He's one of the highlights for me.
well, yeah, I mean he's great, right? Like he's just always awesome. And his character's good. His character is, I think, quite similar to the one from Breaking Bad.
Actually,
And
I was
it's
about to say the opposite. I like how his character's a little different from the one in Breaking Bad. Like, because in Breaking Bad, he's a lot more like a human in this almost.
That I think in this show, well, I mean, he's like his whole world is collapsing and he has a normal fucking heart rate, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
but like he's
in
not
this
like
show,
he's not like a.
he strikes me
I
as
don't
the
know. Yeah,
kind of
I guess you're right.
person. He
I
strikes
guess
me as
just
the
the way that
kind
he
of
plays
person.
it isn't the exact same as Gus.
No,
Like
that's
Gus
true.
is completely just like almost robotic with how calculated he is, whereas Stan
Yeah,
Edgar is actually able to like carry
uh,
on small talk with like the presidential candidate, and it's not like totally fake.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're both sort of like just like relentless
Am I lagging out? I
capitalists, you
can't hear
know?
you. For
No, you're
Hello?
not lagging out. It's all good.
oh, okay, yeah, I can hear. I say something, Dan.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're both sort of just like relentless capitalists, you know? And it's like to the point of sociopathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like he strikes me as the kind of character, Stan Edgar, who would get half of his face blown off or half of his head blown off and adjust his tie before he dies. Like that is in character for him. So I don't think that you lose the the moment where he actually is done for, like where it's actually all over for him. You lose that as something that you get to show on screen uh at this point. Like if you're the creative staff for this show, I don't think you ever give that scene away.
Yeah,
yeah, that
like
makes sense.
what? Like, yeah. Why would you? Why would you have him just randomly disappear from the show?
I
You
mean,
know?
why did they do like half the stuff that they did?
True.
Like
And
why did they build up Supersonic as like this guy and then just why did they build
Because
up Black Noir's backstory and then he gets punched in the
no,
stomach? Like,
because we needed drama to spice up the relationship between Huey and
well,
Starlight.
yeah,
That's why.
and then I mean we learned that A Train is a coward who is not to be trusted, which we didn't know before that.
Ah, yes, this is a
And
revelation as well.
we learn that that Homelander will kill you if you cross him, which we did not know.
yeah,
Ah,
So
that was a
yeah,
surprise.
I
yes.
was
Yeah.
shocked. I was like, oh, this guy's telling A Train a thing? That's stupid. He's gonna die. And then he dies like immediately. And it's like,
Yup.
come on. Like, what was the point of this whole thing?
Oh man.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, what was the point? Because like, did it
No, exactly.
like who
Like,
like it didn't did it affect A Train's arc at all?
it
Like, didn't
affected nothing. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it did give A Train another opportunity to be a weasel, right? But it's like we were at that point already trying to set him on the path to you know, he was like doing these like grand gestures that were stupid and everyone hated, and he was like, "Oh, but this will get me back in like, you know, the public good perception or whatever." And it's eh, like that stuff was all good, and then yeah, it's just it's like, oh yeah, he's still a coward and still shitty, and it's like, yeah, we know this about him. He does this stuff all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just little like
Yeah.
borderline nitpicky things that I think are silly. Um, that is not where I wanted to be. When the Deep's like bedroom, uh, and it's like he has a portrait of himself that is not a portrait of him. It's
It's
a
a portrait of
portrait of
Homelander.
him with Homelander,
It's
like,
a portrait
but
of Homelander, and he's
but
in the background.
yeah, and it's like this
Yeah.
is in the Deep's room, as if it's the
Yeah.
Deep's portrait.
Right.
First off, why would he have like a painted portrait of himself, a la like 1880, 18 whatever,
Yeah.
you know? And then secondly, why would he have a portrait that is of Homelander, uh, that the Deep is behind,
Because
like where Homelander's the
he's
focus?
Homelander's bitch.
Yeah,
Like
I
because
mean,
he's
I
that's
get the
Homelander's
that's
bitch.
that's the
symbolism
whole
behind
thing.
it. I mean, I get the
Yeah.
symbolism behind it, but like, you like,
Yeah. This is how he sees himself.
but like,
yeah.
certainly, like the Deep would have enough self-respect to not do
I
that.
don't know about that.
No?
I disagree with it. Yeah,
I don't get that impression at all.
I
Like,
think it's completely
don't.
within the Deep's character to have
Yeah.
that portrait in his room.
The deep is a coward more than anything. That's like his strongest character trait.
I guess so. Just it comes across as really weird to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it or not enough or something. I don't know.
I mean, it was supposed to be like funny, for sure.
Like I get the like joke
Yeah.
behind it. Like don't get me wrong. Like I get
Right.
it. I'm just kind of like I don't know. I'm still all. I mean my even the second kind of issue notwithstanding, like that first issue of just why is there like Victorian era fucking portraits of superheroes,
Because
in the first place.
it's like, so the way that the room is decorated is gaudy, because like the deep has no taste, basically, which
No,
is
well, I mean, it's not just the Deep though. Like
established.
even you can see it in the halls of Vought where it's like there's all these oil like fuck. There's like a
Yeah.
goddamn like Sistine Chapel in the fucking meeting room or whatever.
Well, yeah, that's like, so if you have a ton of money and you consider yourself basically gods, and you're extremely
You know,
self-important, then that's the kind of thing that you spend your money on. Like it's
Yeah,
I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying that it's incredible, like, I, man, what's the term for like some like
set
detail that
design.
reveals the plot, or I mean, sure, but not even that. Just like a small detail that reveals like a greater part of the plot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, there's a term for that. I can't remember what it is, but it's like, I'm not saying that it's incredible in that uh effect. I'm just saying that I don't really fault them for it, especially considering that it's like the series as a whole is meant to be satirical, right? So it's like
Sure.
they can go over the top with that sort of stuff and fall within their purview.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I guess in that sense, I just wish it was a little bit. Um. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair
More
enough. I
grounded
suppose.
or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you could do that entire set in a more grounded way, where it's like, this seems like a place that someone with the powers of the deep would actually live, but it's like that's not really what the show's about. Like, they are meant to be sort of ridiculous deconstructions, right?
Yeah. I guess. Mm, I, I suppose that in that sense, it almost feels like, no, I'll just, it's okay, fair enough, I suppose. I don't know. The portraits still, I think the portraits are a bit much then, but
Yeah,
I can understand certainly the Sistine Chapel. Like I get that stuff in terms of like,
right.
I wasn't poo-pooing that.
It's definitely. I mean, I said it when we were talking about the deep earlier, but it's something that they overdo with
Yeah,
him, where
yeah,
it's like, yes, we get
right,
that.
okay, yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm coming
Homelander's
from,
the
where it just feels like, yeah, like they've just overdone it
like,
with the stuff.
everything about this character is his relationship to Homelander, and
Mhm.
Homelander has nothing but disdain for him.
Also,
Um,
he has one argument with his wife and they break up.
Yeah, that, I mean, it just seemed like they were trying, I don't know what they were gonna do with her or anything like that, but it seemed like they were just trying to get rid of her because she had already done her part of the plot, and it was very like weird. Like, and they just went back to that one joke, and it's like, listen, make, like, just give the deep more stuff, like make there some sort of like decision between his wife and Homelander where he picks Homelander, right? Something like that,
Right.
where it's like, okay, that's a good reason for them to get divorced. But then they just go back to this goofy thing where it's like, oh yeah, he fucks fish. Okay, that's fine. I like it as a joke, but you don't need to keep going back to it. It's it played itself out.
That I agree with
Yeah.
that statement.
I agree with that.
I
So
agree.
I feel like we covered everything.
I'm pretty sure.
We are pushing 3.5 hours, which is so
Jesus.
far the
That's a long time.
longest episode of whatever show this will be called. Test podcast
You guys
number
don't
3.
even have a name. You guys invited me on your podcast
Kicked
that
around a few
doesn't
names. I
have
don't know
a
what to call.
name. Oh man.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Clip
re-record
out
this.
all the parts where I was talking, and your show will be like 45 minutes long. I just couldn't help myself.
45. I'm not complaining about
I'm-
you going on for 45 minutes.
I'm
Like genuinely,
exaggerating.
like
No. I mean, if you take out the parts that I was talking,
Oh.
your show will be like 45 minutes long.
That's totally fine. That's totally. I don't even like. That's not a problem.
I had a lot to say about this season.
I feel like we should
Yeah,
just,
no
if we come up with a
worries.
name, I feel like we should call it something stupid.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
just
fuck! I
like
thought
pick
I
a
had
random
a name
object
for it.
on like one of our desks
Yeah.
and be like, yeah, like call it that.
Gotta find something that will pique people's interests. So then, if it does happen to get through the algorithm, it's like, oh yeah, what's this about? It turns out it's just a bunch of cheds.
Oh,
talking
PMS.
about,
I got it.
media. Now figure out what that stands for in the context of the show.
Post media scrutiny.
That word. You know, I was thinking the politics media show.
Oh, that's not terrible actually.
I like post media scrutiny more.
Post media scrutiny is good too.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for having me on. This has been a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
If you would like me to come rant about anything else, I'm sure.
We well, I've mentioned this multiple times. I think I mentioned this at least once per like episode that we've done. I want to talk about Interstellar, and it won't be you ranting, it'll be me ranting, because
true.
I've also started to pull up references from like Mahler and stuff like that when he's been on other shows.
Yeah.
And about like stuff that doesn't make sense, like the world building.
Why would I want to be on a stream with Destiny? He likes Interstellar.
Yeah, basically.
So good.
I love that too when they changed his like title to like Interstellar fan.
Adam spelled it wrong, and it was just on with the typo for like an hour or so. It was on for so long, just spelled incorrectly. Adam can't spell for shit, man.
Is he dyslexic?
That I don't know, but he does have spell check.
That's true. That's true.
Check-sick?
But he does have. I think he has dyslexia. But yeah, because him and Doomer Media talked about that scene, the parent teacher interview scene.
Yeah.
And how the whole world is convinced that the moon landings were faked, when that would directly contrast with the government's goals. So it's like, why would they teach that that's being faked? You know, of course. Like,
oh yeah, there's definitely some dumb stuff in Interstellar. I've only seen it the one time, also we were like, it was not a good like opportunity to actually get anything out of the film, even if there was stuff to get out of the film. So it's like there was like 6 of us watching it, and we were all kind of ripping on things the entire time. And I was doing a Matthew McConaughey impression like constantly.
It's true. That's where we got with the joke. It's like, I have to go Interstellar 2014.
Yeah, which I mean, honestly, I probably wouldn't have watched the movie otherwise, so I don't regret it. But like, yeah, there were some problems with that film.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm gonna be the one who has to defend it, aren't I?
Oh, it's not gonna be me. There were some
I liked
things
it. I've seen it twice, and I liked it both times.
Oh boy.
I've seen it about 4 times, and I disliked it
No,
after
I
the
know you.
third or fourth time.
I disliked it twice as many times as you liked it,
Literally.
idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, idiot. No, like they're like
My
fuck.
favorite was the
I
night that
win.
my favorite was the night that we were here and you had passed out on my couch and Kate and I were up late and then we were like, so Interstellar's the best movie ever, right? And then like as we were talking about it, you were like asleep and then you're just like, you were like kind of tossing and turning at it.
Well,
Like
it's pretty
you
good.
hate
It's not
Interstellar
quite
so
as
much.
good as The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. Just like we're talking about it, he's just like like even in like an unconscious state, you just hate it so much that you can't like keep it down.
Here's the thing, I own both of those movies. I like so fuck dude. Interstellar's really disappointing because on paper it should be a movie that I love, and I feel more emotionally betrayed by that film than I am about Dark Knight Rises, even though Dark Knight
I
Rises is probably on the same level of quality as Interstellar.
I met a guy who was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I was on set as an extra in an episode of Lost Girl.
Okay.
Yeah, and this guy was just like, yeah, I think the biggest thing I've ever been on was Dark Knight Rises, and I was like, okay, well, I imagine that paid pretty well.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, right? So.
Oh man, yeah, he was like one of the guys that was on the Gotham Knights or whatever,
Mm.
before the stadium collapses and kills them all or whatever.
Being an extra would
Okay.
be fun. Okay, so I know we're gonna end this in a sec. I have a really quick fun story though. I might have told this to. I know. I think I might have told Nathan before. Um, so you know how they kept making American Pie movies, and some of them just started going straight to video, and they got worse and worse and worse.
Oh, yeah,
My
sure.
buddy, did you guys meet? Okay, I don't want to drop real names. We probably shouldn't. My one buddy was an extra in American Pie: The Naked Mile, which was filmed at McMaster,
Oh fuck, I think I've
and
seen that.
he created a continuity error, which you wouldn't notice unless you're looking for my buddy. But every time, like at the end of the movie, they go to this like, one of the huge like mansion castles that's like a McMaster residence, and
They go to
everybody there is supposed to be
Hero-gasm?
like, yeah, basically whatever. Everybody there is supposed to be half naked. So every time they went back for another day of shooting, they'd be like, "Yo, extras, make sure that you're in the same place, right?" So every time my buddy went back, he would deliberately not do that. So like you can tell in a bunch, like there's to be like a shot like downstairs where they're talking, and you can clearly see my buddy like in the background, like talking to some girl. And then there's a shot upstairs, and then you see my buddy walking by, like.
That's
That's
pretty
actually
funny.
really funny.
It's the thing, like, if you weren't specifically looking for my friend, you probably wouldn't notice it. And there's probably only like 12 people who've even watched that movie anyway. But I love that. I was like, yo, if I'm ever an extra, I totally want to create a continuity error. Like,
That's pretty funny.
All right. Anyway, yeah. So
all right,
this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, hell
Well,
Do let me know.
you're
If you're
welcome to
doing it
come
again.
back at
It's something
any
that I think-
time. It's just a matter of organizing this stuff.
yeah, for sure.
Alrighty. I am stopping recording in 3,